Tonight's guests are Tommy Cullen and Martin Groves.
Looking back on the life that you're leaving, let it rest in a hole in the ground. Stick around for the great revealing, or the fire you've been dancing around. All we hear is the sound of retreating. No one cares where you're coming from. My ears are still ringing and beating. I guess we all knew from the start. These are the days my heart goes numb. Yeah, one of these days will be the one. Looking for answers. Oh, what a disaster. These are the days my heart goes numb. My heart goes numb. Breathing the fumes of the ashes, the spirits light up the night, looking down the
Now, we're live from the Untold Radio Network. It's Untold Radio AM with MonsterQuest producer, host Doug Hajicek, and co-host Jeff Perrella Jr. Untold Radio AM is going live right now.
This show is for entertainment purposes only. Yep, that's the ticket. Now here are your Untold Radio AM hosts, Doug Hajicek and Jeff Perrella Jr.
And here we are. Hello, everyone.
Yeah, we are here. We have just so everybody knows, we have a sick Jeff Perrella. Big Red is down, but he's here.
Very rare. I don't get sick very often.
No, it's all right. It's all right. You'll live, I think.
I'll survive. Yeah, all good.
But hello, everybody. Yeah, welcome. Good evening from the Untold Radio Network, episode 289.
289, yep.
Yep, 289. And all of the amazing family of Untoldians. And I see we've got few new people in tonight.
Good to see everyone. Thanks for coming.
Yeah. So we appreciate you guys coming in. And I know many people in our audience are buried in snow like we are.
Yeah, we got hit pretty good.
Oh man, they keep plowing and it keeps just blowing over again.
Yeah.
Now we're in the windstorm. And then we
kind of thought we were done with it.
Then we had the what was it? What day was it? Friday. We had the patio furniture exchange program going on with the wind.
That wind, yeah.
I mean, it was hilarious.
That
I
wind
had
was
the
nuts.
neighbors' stuff in my yard, and I had my stuff in their yard. And stuff even flew right over the top of the railings. It was
Yikes.
crazy.
Yeah, pretty extreme.
Yeah.
I kind of thought we were done with this snow, but
Well, I didn't know if it was going to snow or it was going to be a tornado. Didn't know. Anyhow, okay. So tonight we have Martin Groves on. He is a retired sheriff, law enforcement of many, many years. He experienced a truly horrific Dogman encounter. And so Martin's going to tell of his encounter. And then we're also joined, we can just bring him on right now. Tommy Cullen is going to come
all right.
guest co-host tonight.
Welcome,
as the
Tommy.
Third wheel. Tommy, are you there? There he
Oh,
is.
yeah.
I'm here.
Yeah.
How are you
see you,
doing,
man.
gentlemen? I'm
And so-
excited to be here.
Well, good. So let me just tell people a little bit about you. Tommy Cullen, he runs the Let's Get Freaky podcast, which I was just a guest on.
Yeah, it was
So-
fantastic. It was a fantastic episode. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, well, go
People
check
love
it out. I told some secret stories to Tommy.
Yeah, it was amazing, man. Absolutely amazing. I'm excited to be here tonight, guys. Thank you so much.
Good to have you.
And so Tommy's all the way in the UK tonight, so he isn't getting snow, I don't think.
No, it's just raining. It's
Probably
just raining.
rain. What's new?
Constantly raining.
But you've had brushes with the paranormal, UFOs, all sorts of stuff, and we'll get into that.
Yeah, I've had a few experiences.
Yeah.
A lot of weird stuff.
Yeah. But anyhow, I call him Tommy the Paranormal Viking.
Skull.
Exactly.
I like it, man.
All right.
I should have worn my horns tonight. Oh.
Yeah. So what we're going to do tonight, we're just going to do news. We're going to talk to Tommy, and then we'll bring Martin on. Martin's already in the green room, and we'll bring Martin down. So turn your lights down low, get comfortable, grab a favorite chair, the one with the hole in it. Grab your favorite beverage, not like Jeff does, not one of those. Because we got some.
I'm drinking tea tonight.
About. Okay, tea. Yeah, well, that's right. It's New Year's Eve. Yeah, I know. Sure.
Just the one time.
The one time. He's never going to live it down, Tommy.
I'm not. He brings it up every week. A little bit of whiskey. One night a year, I had a little bit of whiskey.
Yeah, well, you're my Matt Damon. I just keep bringing it up.
It's good for you. It's good for you. A bit of whiskey's good for you, right?
Yeah.
It was medicinal purposes only.
Yeah.
So anyhow, what do we got going on? I guess that's all I really want to talk about. Let's just go and boy, I hope I'm not getting another cold. Let's get into the news. The weird
some news. Here we go.
Yeah.
It's time for weird and fast news. Yeah! It's time for weird and fast news.
First on the agenda. First, Tommy, you have any comments? Please just do whatever.
I saw this.
You're a host, yes.
Last time I saw it.
So scientists apparently have for the first time directly observed tiny electrical plasma discharges flickering from tree leaves during thunderstorms. These glowing bursts of energy known as corona discharge has been predicted by scientists for over a century. Now, here's the deal. My older brother, Johnny, told me about this when I was maybe a 16-year-old kid. He's like, lightning strikes, like if it's going to strike a tree, it strikes from the tree upwards to the clouds, not downwards. Lightning does not strike down, it strikes up. Yep. Well, then there would have to be discharges off the plant. So he said, there's discharges off all of the trees and plants. And when the discharge gets too big, it makes a connection and a lightning bolt happens. And it can damage the tree, obviously, when it makes that connection. And so it's just interesting to hear this stuff in 2026. I showed you what you can learn, though, if you're just observant and think about things, right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
So it says the sharp tips of leaves concentrate the electrical charge, causing the surrounding air to ionize and release faint flashes of light. So there you go. So next time there's a storm,
interesting.
Peek out your window and see if your leaves are glowing.
Didn't they get a video this week of leaves of plants breathing? Did you guys see that?
No, I didn't.
I did not.
Breathing?
Yeah, they've actually got. I don't know how far they've zoomed in. Obviously, very far, but they're literally breathing. Like it's like a little mouth opening, and it's a new discovery.
Oh, it's just like a electron microscope type image. Like really small, so you can see the respiration.
Yeah,
that's all we need to know. That plants have little millions of lips.
They're breathing, man.
That's cool.
Once again, we all knew they breathe, but we've never seen it, right? We're not supposed to see this stuff. Just like this next picture. Just like this next picture, Jeff, we are not supposed to see this. This is the clearest image ever taken of Saturn's North Pole. But here's what's weird. Notice it's a hexagon.
Mm-hmm.
How is that possible?
Pretty wild.
It says a perfect hexagonal storm has been raging for decades now, and is over 30,000 kilometers across. So that's roughly 22,000 miles about. I don't know what the conversion is. But it's about that. First spotted by Voyager 1 back in 1980. But this is a scene you're not supposed to see. Look at that.
That's from Cassini. I'm almost positive that's from a Cassini image.
It's amazing.
It is, and nobody really knows why it does that yet. It's crazy. It's been there a long time, long as we know it, long as we've been watching Saturn. It's been there.
But it's right in the category, Tommy, of plants breeding.
Yeah, man.
Supposed
It's
to
way
see
up
that
there.
crap.
That looks
Okay.
amazing, man.
All right, now the next up is axolotl's secret could revolutionize human medicine. I love saying that word. Axolotl
it is fun to say.
doesn't just survive injuries; it completely erases them. It loses a limb, regrows it. Heart's damaged, no problem, repaired. Brain injured, rebuilt from scratch. No scars, no permanent damage, just perfect regeneration. Scientists have been studying this extraordinary amphibian for decades. Now, so here's a topic I think it's worth them spending money on.
Yeah.
Not necessarily photographing tips of plants in a lightning storm. I mean, that's probably not going to help us advance too much. But this would. It says, yet despite being one of the most scientifically valuable animals on Earth, the axolotl is critically endangered in the wild. I think you have these in England.
We do. There's a pet store just down the road that sells loads of these things. They're normally pink, though. I don't know if I've seen the black ones, but yeah, pink and white I normally are. But yeah, this is interesting. This would be very handy.
Yeah.
If we could learn how they do this.
Yeah. Well, maybe you just have to eat them for breakfast. All right. Then Jeremiah Byron from the Bigfoot Society has been doing news updates and did a great job, brought it to the public's attention. It's made news.
A ton of people sent this to me. Yeah, big story.
Yeah, and this is basically kind of reminds me of the 70s when I was a kid, these Bigfoot flaps. You've had UFO flaps like in the UK that make the news, but generally social media kind of, the newspapers don't publish much anymore. So it's nice to see mainstream media grabbing this. So there's been, I think, 8 sightings now. I'm not even sure. It's
something like that.
Maybe even 11. But what's interesting is Jeremiah and other people have pointed out basically the travel route of what looks like probably a family of Bigfoots traveling through corridors, forested corridors. Now I will just read a little bit here. It says something is stalking Portage County, Ohio, and multiple witnesses have reported seeing it. Over the past week, multiple 8 to 10 foot tall creatures have been spotted in broad daylight, grunting at hikers, crashing through the woods. It says, are we looking at a genuine Bigfoot flap unfolding in real time between March 6th and March 13th? I don't know if anything's happening now, but apparently this has gone across Portage and Trumbull counties, centered largely around the communities of Mantua, Garrettsville, and Wyndham. This rapid-fire succession of encounters unfolding over just 1 week has researchers convinced that a group of unidentified creatures is currently migrating through the state's wooded corridors. There you go.
Interesting.
So congratulations,
cool story.
Jeremiah. That's good job on reporting.
Yeah.
We're going to have to get him on and maybe Val from his website. Why can't I not think? Val, the Michigan Bigfoot website. Hi, Val. Sorry.
I can't think of,
I don't know. My brain's dead. So next, scientists have discovered fanged frogs.
Whoa.
Now,
is that legit? Man.
Well, yeah, it's legit.
Wow.
Yeah, it's legit. I took that picture myself. I flew to Borneo yesterday. Got it and crawled around on my knees in the swamps and took that picture and came back.
That's
Just barely made it
amazing.
back in time. So scientists studying frogs in the forests of Borneo have discovered something surprising. What researchers thought was a single species of frog is actually several different hidden species. These amphibians are called fanged frogs because the males grow tooth-like projections on their jaws, and they use these in territorial fights. There you go. What else we got here? It says,
I'm now scared of frogs officially.
Yeah, I would too. Jeff had to go hit his cough button. He'll be back. Poor Jeff. It's just, I hate getting colds and flu.
Mm-hmm.
It says this discovery shows how much hidden biodiversity may still exist in the remote rainforest. It also highlights a growing problem for conservationists. If scientists don't know that a species even exists, it can disappear before anybody even realizes that it may need protection. So there you go.
I switched pictures too early. Sorry about that.
Well, it's all right.
No,
No, it's good.
yeah.
Apparently, seal. I'm going to get a drink of rip here. Hold on. Okay. Seals and sea lions may explain why humans can talk. That's where I got my voice from the seal. Scientists studying seal and sea lion brains have discovered that these animals may hold clues to how human speech evolved. Researchers found that these marine mammals possess unusual brain pathways that allow more voluntary control over breathing and vocalizations. This control may have originally evolved to help animals hold their breath. So that's how we learn to talk, by holding our breath to swim.
Interesting.
Yeah, who knew that? And then here's one for you, Jeff. The next one. You could probably use one of these now.
Yeah.
Apparently, they've discovered a mushroom that makes people see dancing elves consistently.
I'd give it a try.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing some dancing elves, as long as everything is a very short amount of time. Right. 5 minutes, that could be it.
Right.
I don't want to see dancing elves longer than 5 minutes.
Yeah, I'm there.
Researchers are investigating are investigating a mysterious mushroom that causes bizarre hallucinations when eaten raw or undercooked. Hundreds of people each year experience visions, delirium, and strange sensory effects after consuming it, even though the mushroom is considered edible when prepared correctly. I am not going to mention the mushroom, so you're not getting that info out of me. The most unusual symptom reported by people who eat the mushroom is seeing tiny dancing elves. Scientists still haven't identified the chemical responsible, and it appears to be different from typical psychedelic compounds like psilocybin. Despite the strange effect, the mushrooms rarely cause permanent harm, making it one of the strangest food-related mysteries in modern toxicology. So there you go. Yep, if you want to know what mushroom it is, got to look it up here on your own. I ain't telling you.
Saying.
No way.
I'll try one.
What do we got? Jesus, there's a lot of this. Okay, there's another one. A couple more stories. 3 UFO orbs were filmed chasing each other over New York. And apparently a strange sight over Queens, New York has reignited UFO speculations after residents captured video of 3 glowing orbs darting through the night sky. The witnesses said he first noticed what looked like a shooting star, but then 2 more lights appeared and began weaving around the first, almost like they were playing tag. Then the objects moved into a loose triangle pattern and shifted direction in different ways that didn't resemble. Did I just say resemble? I did. That's a combination. They didn't resemble typical aircraft flight paths. I did. I combined resemble. You resemble Tommy a Viking. Anyhow, oh God, one more.
Did you see the video to that? That was a wild video.
Yeah. I'm not going to show it though. You can see the perfect picture I took here.
That is
actual photograph.
Yeah, actual photograph.
Yeah, that's a still.
That I took.
High
still
definition.
capture. I mean, why would you want to see the original video?
Absolutely.
You can see this. You can go look it up. When you're looking up the mushrooms, you can look this up.
It's in the dictionary
in fact,
right after resemble.
you can watch the video while you're eating the mushrooms.
Mhm.
All right. Next, apparently, this is really interesting. Microbes can survive asteroid-level impacts. So this is where it's interesting on how they accomplish this.
That resembles a sandwich.
It does resemble. It does. It looks like a snail sandwich. Ugh,
With
gross.
mushrooms on the side.
Yeah, it does. It's resemble. In a bizarre experiment, scientists placed, oh God, here we go, extremophile bacteria between steel plates and blasted them with pressure similar to asteroid impacts. The goal was to test whether life could survive being blasted off a planet by meteor strikes. And astonishingly, many of the microbes survived the extreme shock. The bacteria used in the experiments are famous for surviving radiation and harsh conditions, but researchers were shocked to see up to 95% survived. So you can get a bunch of these bacteria, put them on a firecracker, blow it off, and they're just like, hey, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
No problem. Anyhow.
Interesting.
Enough of that crap.
Oh God, that's it. All right, Martin, you're up next, man. hopefully we didn't bore you too bad with all that crap. All right, so Martin Grove, I want to read his bio. Martin is a retired Sheriff's Patrol law enforcement officer. He has now authored 3 books on the Dogman phenomena. Martin Groves is a retired law enforcement officer with 32 years of experience. He is a highly trained police investigator with thousands of hours of certified training by federal and state agencies. He is the author of 3 books, and his life story and experience with Bigfoot and Dogman and other creatures have been written by other highly respected book authors. He has been filmed in numerous movie documentaries. The only one that matters is he just got filmed by MonsterQuest. That's the only one that matters, Martin. Come
Pretty
on,
cool.
you know it. Anyhow, on the History Channel, at which MonsterQuest made its official return January 2026. He is described by his peers, such as Ron Moorhead, as one of the most compelling witness investigators of our time. And that's quite an honor coming from Ron.
Yeah.
So with that, let's welcome Martin.
Welcome, Martin. And there he is. Hello.
Hello, everybody.
And by the way, this is Martin's first live podcast, right?
Wow.
Yes, it is. This is my
Welcome.
first live. I have managed to avoid many others, but I mean, you have to say it like this. It's a simple equation. When the Doug Hajicek calls and he summons you to a podcast, how could Martin Groves say no?
Oh, you're so nice, Martin. And by the way, you look great, and your sound is good, and your camera looks awesome.
Yeah.
So now you don't have to
Thank you.
avoid him anymore.
That is due to Jeff and then my executive producer. You know, David Politis has Huck, that is the executive producer, his beautiful dog. Now, I have my beautiful wife as executive producer and sound and gaff person that will take care of all the cameras.
She
All
did
right.
a great job.
Yeah.
My normal equipment list is because I avoid all forms of electronics in the woods because my personal belief is that any of these creatures already read you. Begin with they read your spirit or your soul when you walk into the woods, but they can tell if you are carrying electronic cell phones, anything battery operated. So my equipment list is a kerosene lantern.
Oh, there you go.
Nice.
Tech. Oh, that's our tech breakdown, by the way, for this week.
Kerosene lanterns.
That's actually that's
kerosene
good
lantern.
advice.
That's
actually really good advice. And what
really
is
good.
it going to
I agree.
hurt for people to try it? Right?
Agreed.
They have nothing to lose.
Amen. You have nothing to lose. Just a kerosene lantern. We don't go in armed with any weapons to form an aggressive statue to anything that we might meet, and we have other means of protection. But the main protection I have is my religious background.
Yeah. Good. Well, first off, thank you for all your service, Martin.
Absolutely.
Super
Very welcome.
honored to have you here. I know your encounter is, basically amazing for many aspects. Partly because people do respect law enforcement, and when any officer has an encounter, you need to take note because you guys are trained to observe. You're also you're on the right side of everything from a standpoint of if you're going to get the straight scoop, you're going to get it from a law officer.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And it's just, and I've known many police officers, and they are not ones to tell stories on anything. In fact, I had a guy that an officer I rode with a lot on the streets, patrolled with him at night. And for years I asked him, do you ever see anything weird? Always nothing. It took 2 years to get him out of it that one day he saw what looked like a damn kangaroo. But it took years to get that out of them. They're just they're not the kind of people that, just start blabbing. So how many years? So the first question is, before we get into your encounter, how long did it take for you to really be open with this?
Oh, this is a great question, and thank you for letting me answer that. That is one that I'm asked. I remain hidden in the woods per se, and I didn't come out of the closet for many years. I investigated from 1993 until approximately 2021 or two, when a professor actually contacted me, and the young lady was very supportive and talked me into coming out and telling my story. She had heard that I was the little old fat guy, that investigated strange happenings in the areas of Kentucky and Tennessee. And the lady called me, and I was very reluctant. And she tells the story as of today that Mr. Groves did not want to come public. If it had not been for Professor Heather Mosier with Small Town Monsters, no one would even know my story.
Oh,
I would never came out. So that I went from 93 until approximately 2022 before I even shared my story with the public.
Yeah. That's exactly what I've experienced too. Even with people, and you probably weren't asked, but you didn't share it. And even when I asked, I've talked to numerous law enforcement that have had encounters. I've talked to detectives that have been together that have had encounters, and they're very private about this, to the point where I have to promise I'm not going to tell anybody. They just have questions. And that probably, I can only imagine living with what happened was like and not being able to share with anybody.
The trauma and what we know to call now, we didn't have names for it back in the day. Even when we were involved in shootings and terrible scenarios as a police officer, we didn't know what PTSD was. Go
Right.
home and check yourself and get better and come back to work. But the trauma inflicted mentally was something that I still with even today. And but what you said is very true. In law enforcement, we have to worry about coming forth and sharing our story like that because we have to appear in front of county and federal court systems. We're certified by the courts and juries and the defense attorneys as expert witnesses from everything from a traffic accident fatality to a murder homicide scene. So I had to really keep everything undercover with that, even though there were several sheriffs in the area and chiefs of police that would contact me because they knew in my off-duty time that I really had a interest in any high strangeness activity within Kentucky and Tennessee, as well as missing person cases and cold homicide cases, and which I still do today. I still investigate what I can and what I'm allowed to. But you cannot come forth. May 23rd of this year was my last death row inmate case that was finished out. So I really don't have any reasons to remain off record, and I can be even more public because I'm not under the constant scrutiny of having to possibly appear in a courtroom and, oh, you're the officer that sees Bigfoot.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be traumatic on many levels, wouldn't it? They would use weaponize.
They'd rip you apart.
Yeah, they'd weaponize it. So, how in the world did you even deal? Let's just talk about how you dealt with this. Just day one.
Oh, from day one.
We're going to get into your encounter, but I kind of want to warm people up to your story.
Sure.
Day one, what happens? What do you do? How do you cope?
Well, I hid it for many years, and the more that I hid it, the more traumatized mentally that I was. I had nightmares for many years. My wife would tell you that I've had nightmares from all the years that we've been married, and she just attributed to that it was something to do with, the shootings and the murders or the carnage that a police officer may see in his lifetime or career. And so I never came forth. She never knew anything. And I didn't even talk about the things that would happen to me on the street as a uniformed police officer. And you see some horrific things, but nothing prepared me for seeing some type of creature that I inevitably would have contact with. But even as of a month ago, I was with a colleague, and I woke up in the middle of the night and was very verbal in my nightmare as to what I was seeing. But there's no way to really deal with it. I think Seth Breedlove of Small Town Monsters spoke with me one time, and he asked me, how do I deal with this? And he also asked, he said, do you find that it helps you by talking about it and possibility of helping other witnesses? I have found more comfort by listening and helping other witnesses that have come forward and help them deal with the trauma that they were inflicted mentally, and some with physical attacks. And so there's no way to really deal with it other than I deal very closely with my religious background and my religious nature.
Do you think there is a connection between these very out of place, scary creatures?
I do. Over a course of all these years going on almost, I listened to you the other day about how many years you had been investigating this, and you're more senior, but I've been really investigating this for a long time. And you've got me by a few years, Doug. And but
you could probably be my kid.
Yeah, I could. Well, that makes me feel better, even as long as
Jeff could. We figured it out. Jeff could be my kid.
In all the years, I have discovered everything from portals to the fallen angels to our American Indian contacts as to dealing with these creatures and beasts. And I do find that without a shadow of doubt, in my experience, that it comes back to from the beginning of the days of the Bible, and that's what these creatures are.
Yeah. Well, I see. Okay, so I was humbled one time by me and Yvette seeing a Mothman or a winged humanoid very close. It swooped at our car, came right to the windshield, and we both got a good light. I mean, when your headlights, high intensity headlights light up a creature, and you both see it, and you get chills from their waist down. And now she suffers with so much PTSD from that.
Wow.
She won't even drive at night with me if there's woods anywhere near. Yeah. And it's really affected our life because we used to just adventure like crazy. But so from that humble standpoint, these things completely change your paradigm, completely humble you. obviously I don't know where I'm open-minded as to where they come from, and certainly have considered the religious aspects of seeing something so out of place.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're probably dead on. If I was a betting guy, I would probably bet on you being right.
I agree.
The one thing that I've been taught,
Martin. Go ahead.
I think you're right too. The one thing that I've been taught by a very beloved friend, a brother and mentor, Ronald J. Moorhead. If there's so many things that I can sit and just quote, but what has really stuck in my mind, and you just said it as well, you have to keep an open mind.
Right.
And even if it's not from a religious standpoint or from the Bible, the greatest history book ever written, including the Ethiopian Bible, we have to keep an open mind as to where the creatures could actually have come from. And it may be tomorrow that I have new information given to me, or a colleague discovers, and I have an open mind enough to understand that I need to take a look at this.
Yeah, and I'm hoping, God, the government's got to know something. Don't you agree, Martin?
Oh, for sure.
I do agree.
They
With all the covers up and ranging from the Smithsonian Institute down to our government, the records that have been kept, all the way back to the Roosevelt days of the different creatures that have been seen, and the forming of the national parks. I have a strong opinion about why the national parks was actually formed.
Yeah.
But yes, I truly believe, and my contact, dealing with some of the TVA police and the different officers that I have known, because I can walk. In those days, I walked into offices and I could go where normal people would never see the inside of an office. And I spoke with many government officials, and of course the ideal was to keep your mouth shut, do not speak of these things. And I've had investigations where they've come in and told me that we'll take over from here. We had an incident in the county that I served, Robertson County, Tennessee, where we had several animals killed all in one night. And I was supposed to actually come forth and say that it was escaped baboons. But I saw the tracks of the creature that killed all the animals on the farm that night, and the damage to the walls of the barns, and there was no baboon. The baboons were supposed to have escaped a local zoo in Nashville, Tennessee, that was only about 6 miles from this farm. But I was smart enough to look up the tracks of the baboon and compared them, and no, it was no baboon. We knew that it was some form of creature like a dogman or a wolf style canine creature that was bipedal.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, so we're kind of a little bit warmed up. Why don't we hear your encounter, Martin? You just take your time, and
Okay.
we've no time limit here. And
Okay.
Tommy, if you have questions, Jeff, I mean, we may interrupt you a little bit here and there because we just.
That's cool. That way I don't ramble on, because
if you don't mind,
I could ramble on for 2 hours. So you may have to reel me in every once in a while.
We'll let you ramble all you want, but we might, we'll try to get you back on track if we do.
That's cool.
But I have heard your story, but it's like beyond amazing. So go ahead, Martin. You have the floor. What happened?
The one thing you started out earlier, and you spoke of a colleague that I have a high respect for, which was Jeremiah. And Jeremiah once paid me the compliment. He said, no matter how many times that I've heard you tell your story, it's frightening each time. And he said what he really valued and respected, because he'd interviewed me a couple times, and we had become friends over the years. But he said, you generally keep track and stay on target each and every time. And it is hard, because you can leave out a whistle or a noise or something, and then somebody says, oh, he forgot something. Well, I'm getting a little older, but
well, the main thing I want to do, Martin, just so you know, I really want to get into how you felt.
Sure.
just the whole mental shock of all this. So if you have any thoughts you haven't shared on this encounter that you'd like to share, even though they may be emotional, please do. It's a great format to do that.
And I will give you a heads up that there's parts of the incident that it can cause me some emotion, and grown men don't like to admit that they might shed a tear or two, but sometimes it does happen.
Yeah.
It just depends on what, just how in depth we get. But in the year of 1993, I, of course, was a sheriff's deputy, and I had a real good colleague, a good friend that I worked with, and he was a mountain of a man. He was someone that I trusted my life with. And the individual and I had this incident, which has later been called the Rushing Creek incident, because that's the name of the location and the creek that ran through it. And he was the type of individual that after the incident, he actually had some health issues right after this. He'd had a heart attack and was never the same after this incident. He never returned to work, and he actually quit police and law enforcement. And the man was never the same. And I could quote that after a lot of many different investigators that have been in the field that have had suffered the same type of injuries as this gentleman did. But in 93, my partner and I decided we were wanted to be somewhat of in the deepest outdoors that Tennessee and Kentucky offers. The land between the lakes area is actually called the Yellowstone of the South, even though it is a small area under 200,000 acres. It stretches almost 50 miles in length and has 325 miles of shoreline and 500 miles of hiking trails. And so we decided this would be the place. And I had grew up here in the land between the lakes region. I grew up and fished and hunted there all my life. One would have to understand that I was a highly skilled hunter, taught by my elders, my grandparents, grandfathers, uncles, and my father. And so I knew the difference between the animals that I might see in the woods. Later, I know that at one point I would be called a city slicker that come into the outdoors and didn't know what I had seen after we had this incident. But I just want everyone to understand and know that I was what I would call an avid hunter that really enjoyed the outdoors, and I did not scare easy. I'd seen everything in police work. So in 93, my hunting partner and I decided we needed a break from the trauma, and we had worked some pretty bad incidents, and we wanted to go into the land between the lakes area when we were turkey hunting. And we got all of our proper permits and everything that was necessary to go into the place. And we entered. It was very good weather when we came into the park. And we had chosen a very backwoods area where we knew that we would not have any contact with any other humans. We felt highly probable that we would not even see another person, or so we thought at the time. And I'll never forget that when we entered, we went as far into the woods and deep into the fields that we could get legally, because you're not supposed to take your vehicles so many feet off the roadway and get too far deep. So we packed in as best we could with a pickup truck, and the first night went off without really any problems. But something that is that I should tell is that a part of my story is what happens later on after I speak with some elders. The first night we came in was on Friday night, and as we're sleeping, we got awakened during the night with a raccoon in our camp, and the raccoon came in and was actually touching us, and it had touched the side of my face and the side of my head and was standing up. And my partner noticed this. He woke up in his sleep, and he sees this raccoon that is touching the side of my face and head. And I thought it's kind of strange at the time. Later on, I would discover what this meant. But I gently shooed off, got the raccoon to leave our camp. The next day, we got up and it was raining that morning. And we decided to stay in camp until after the rain shut down and slowed down. And being a turkey hunter, we knew that the birds would stay on their roost. And we stayed for a little while, and then we set out and went our separate ways. Now, over the years, I've been back, and I know how many miles that I walked, and the direction, and the trails that I took. And so I set out from our camp, and as I got a little bit further away from our camp, I would go many miles. And I noticed the strange thing in the woods in this particular area. And I had never hunted this area before, but I had been told there was a lot of turkey in this general area. So I wanted to get me a bird. And so the further I went, I noticed that there was no sign of wildlife. I mean, I was looking for turkey droppings. I was looking for the tracks that the female and males, the type of claws that they had. And I knew even from their droppings, and I was not seeing this. And I felt that that was very strange. I also noticed that the further deeper in this set of woods I was in, that there was no sign of wildlife. I could not hear anything. There were no birds chirping. Everything was just stone quiet. And I thought that was very funny at the time, but I wrote it off because I was a very young man. I think I was in my early 30s, like 32 years of age at the time of this incident. So I was very young, and I was very full of it. I thought I was a very strong man, and I was in those days. And so I continued to walk, and I just wrote all these little warning signs off. And the reason why I point these warning signs out is so that other hunters that might be listening to us tonight, when they get in this, that they don't end up in a potential missing 411 hunter scenario, because that's what I almost become. So the deeper in the woods I got, the day went and progressed, and I'm just having a jolly old good time. At some point in the afternoon, after lunch, I made myself out to a log road, a clearing that came out of the woods, and there was several logs that was blocking access so no one could drive their vehicle any further past this checkpoint on this logging road. And I'm sitting there and I'm drinking some water, and I actually heard a vehicle that was coming towards me. And I thought how odd it was. I knew that I was many miles off any of the main trails and roadways. But when this truck pulled up and approached, you guys will have to forgive my general ninja cat that has decided to come and be a part of the program. So as I am sitting there drinking my water, this truck approached me, and I noticed that it had a white male inside of it, and he was approximately my same age. And he pulled up and parked, got out of his vehicle, and we began to talk, and we began to, the camaraderie of hunters. And we talked a little bit about turkey hunting, and he made fun of me because I possessed a shotgun that I hunted with. And that was baiting me to find out what he hunted with. And he was hunting with a longbow, and he, hunting turkey in those days. It's 1990s. I actually had never heard about people hunting turkeys with with a bow and arrow. And so he showed me his apparatus, and we spoke about it, and we just kind of laughed, and we talked about our names too. He was called Bubba, and I was called Bubba, and we made fun of each other. Everybody in the South is named Bubba or Jimbo or something like that, And so we had a good time, and we spoke for a few minutes, and he decided to leave, and we said our goodbyes, and we had discovered that I was a policeman and he was a fireman, and it's very important in the story. And we shook hands, and just as he was leaving and he's about to get in his truck, he rolled the window down and he said, "Say, I need to warn you about something." And I listened to him, and he said, I've been having some contact in my campground, in my camp that I had. He had a a camping permit, and he was out in the middle of nowhere by himself in a tent. And he told me that there was something that had kept coming into his camp at nighttime, and it would circle his camp, but it would stay outside the fire glow of his campfire and his Coleman lantern that he had. And I just listened to him. I said, okay, we'll be careful. And to be honest with you, I wrote it off. And later on, I would discover that I'm very sure that I was the last human being to speak and to talk with this man. And as the story will progress. And but I had no idea that I would be the last man to see this gentleman alive. So I said my goodbyes and I left and I went into the woods. And as I noticed that it was getting darker, it was getting time for me to head back to camp. And I knew that I had many miles to tread back. But understand, I was a very young man in those days, and I knew I could make it in a matter of a couple hours. And so as I go back to camp, I began to notice some things in the woods. Where it had been quiet, I did hear some insect noise. This was spring of the year. And I said, okay, we got that going. I thought I might still have the ability to take a turkey that afternoon. And I remember I did do a couple calls as I'm walking. But as I was walking, I heard a very strange noise in the woods. And it was a noise that I will never forget. And it was a metallic noise. And it was almost as if we have some specific vehicles at my work that it would sound like a metal door opening, such as like a ship's door or a tank door, something screeching across like concrete, just a metallic noise. And I thought, excuse me, I thought how odd that was because I know where I'm located. There are no barns. There are no other vehicles. The only vehicle I've seen was at least over a mile or two away from the logging road, and I saw him drive away, and I knew that there was nobody else in the woods with me. Now, after the metal noise, subsequently, I would begin to notice strange things in the woods. One of the first things that I heard was a succession of whistles. These whistles that I heard inside the woods is something that remains in my head today, and I actually use them as some of the techniques that I use in my investigations in the woods. So I heard some whistles. I heard something that sounded like rocks being struck together. And I wrote all these things off. I began to think, well, maybe the sound is carrying. I knew I had another hunting partner out in the woods waiting for me at the camp. Maybe the noises that I'm hearing is an axe striking wood back in the camp. I just wrote all these signs off. I know now that I should have been paying closer attention. At some point, as I'm walking through the trail, I began to see something in my peripheral vision, which would be actually to the north of me of my trail that I'm walking. And as I'm walking, whatever that I was seeing and hearing, and in the movement beside in this thick foliage. Now, you have to understand at Land Between the Lakes, when it's in the springtime and the leaves will come out, you might only have 10 to 15 feet that you can see, and then you're only going to see movement. You're going to see trees and briars and the thick grass that we have. But I noticed there was something in the woods that was tailing along with me. And the more curious that I began to get, at some point, I did see what I thought was either a very large dog or a wolf. And we do have red wolves inside the Land Between the Lakes. And we abundantly have many. You'll see 25 to 30 or more coyotes when they wake up at night running in the late evenings. So I'm accustomed to seeing these things. So I kept walking, but I kept noticing that there was more than one object that was in the woods beside of me. That got my curiosity up a little bit. And I noticed that whatever this was obscuring or hiding behind trees. they would stop behind trees or in the thick foliage. And I noticed that when I slowed down, they began to slow down. Whatever the movement I was catching was pursuing me, per se. At some point along my trail back, I got a little worried. So I thought to myself, I'm going to speed up, and then all of a sudden I'm just going to freeze. And so when I froze, they stopped. I was a little bit quicker because I just locked down, and the noise beside of me, with only a few yards, the noise stopped and the objects were hidden from my view. That's when I got worried. And I was carrying a 12 gauge pump shotgun that I always kept empty when I walked for my safety in case I fell. And I remember jacking around into the chamber of this 12 gauge shotgun. And that's when I really began to get concerned. As I'm walking, I'm hearing different noises in the woods. I do recall again hearing some more whistles in the woods, some behind me, some in the trail ahead of me. And I've got these creatures that are falling beside of me that I don't know what they are. I don't know if they're hunting dogs. I don't know if they're a wolf. I continue to walk, and I got a really good close look at one of them. And I could tell that they were on the all four quad, that they were running, and they were exceptionally large canine creatures. And I still wrote all this off. It's starting to get dark on me, and I know that I've got to get back to camp, but I've got some pretty good eyesight and vision going as the evening begins to fall. And I couldn't tell you what time of the evening it was because it was just about dusk. And I noticed that when I got closer to my camp, and I knew that from the area I was getting close, I observed something ahead of me. And there was a stand of oaks, and I'm on a ridge that leads up behind the camp at Rushing Creek. And it's a very high ridge. I would later discover that this area is actually a cemetery as well as a Indian burial ground. It was a mound. But at that time, I had no idea that's what that was. So I looked ahead of me, and I thought I saw another hunter. And I thought the hunter ducked behind the tree. I do, excuse me, Doug. I do remember that. And when he ducked behind the tree, at some point, I heard a metallic sound one more time. This is the second time that I've heard a metallic sound. So I'm standing there and I'm looking for whoever or whatever this is. And then I'm reading it in my mind that this hunter did not act right. I had thrown up my arm and actually had waved at some point. I didn't get a wave back. I didn't get anything back. And I noticed that this gentleman or whoever that it was, I felt like was wearing some type of hunting apparatus, such as what we use called a ghillie suit. And that's what my description would be for a long time until later on that we spoke and spoke with some other people that had contact. And it just kind of flipped me out. Here this thing is just, I can't even see it any longer. And I'm getting worried, But I wrote this off thinking, okay, got a hunter in the woods with me. The possibility of these things in the woods, could they be hunting dogs? Many of the coon hunters in the spring, they do run their dogs and they do train them. And I wrote all these things back. So it's getting pretty dark and all these things are in my mind. There's something still in the woods with me. But I still am not frightened because I'm a very overconfident hunter. And just didn't give any thought about it. As I get closer to my camp, I could smell the campfire and I could see the fire glow. And I knew that my hunting partner was in the camp and was waiting on me. But the closer that I got to my camp, I noticed the look on my friend's face. And he was very distraught. And I would later find out he would tell me his story as to what happened to him during his hunting excursion. But as I got closer to camp, I said, hey, man, it's me. I'm coming in. And I recall vividly the conversation that we had. I asked him, I said, hey, I'm sorry. I've been out for a long time, and I could see that he was very extremely worried. And he said, Martin, he said, this is not it. I've had some problems myself today, and that he had seen some things he didn't understand. And he did begin to, we stood around the fire, and he told me his side of the story, that he had been into a particular cornfield, which was adjacent. And the cornfield was over 100 acres, and it was left from the year before. And there was some corn, partial corn, that was still there from the year before. But he was in the middle of this cornfield, and from at least 200 yards away or further, projectiles were being thrown at him. He didn't know at first if it was a rock or if it was something that had fell from a tree. But got to understand too, this was 200 yards from the woods. And he explained to that, and he was in bewilderment. At some point, he said that a corn cob, a hardened corn cob, had been thrown and went past his head. And that's when he felt pressured. He was being pushed out of his hunting place. And just like me, he did not understand whether or not that is this other hunters in the woods or what it is. But he felt compelled to get out of that cornfield and come back to camp. He had also seen something in the cornfield that he did not understand. And he at first thought that he had seen like the sun's glare that was blinding him. And he recalls that he saw two flashes of light that he would later describe as some type of like an orange glow. And we would talk years later that we felt like that it was two orbs that had come in over the top of him. So as we're standing at the campfire, that is when the entire scenario would take place. I've told you just about all I can remember concerning the buildup to what takes place. We're standing facing the fire, and above us is a tile ridge, and what is later that would be called the cemetery above us. And the area is Russian Creek, and there's a huge cemetery there on top of the Indian Mound. On top of this ridge, there is a cliff in front of us. That the cliff we thought would protect us and would be good for us, that when we lay down at night, we would have a good back behind us with a small creek bed behind us. There was a cane patch over to the right of the camp as I'm facing the wall. And the cane break was good for us as well for our camp, but it would also cause us some issues and some problems. Now, Doug, at that time, we talked among ourselves, and we thought that we really had some hunters in the area that was trying to scare us. The next sequence of events, it speeds up from this point on, and I began to see what I thought was someone standing behind a large oak tree in this cane brake. And I saw what I thought was a cigarette glow or the glow of a cigar being smoked. And at that point, man, I was just locked in. Okay, we got some hunters that's really messing with us, and they want our hunting spot. And we were kind of whispering back and forth. At some point, Larry seizes it well. And when he does, he sees the same thing. And he says, there's somebody behind this tree. And we had the consensus that we were probably going to have to fight off somebody or run somebody off. And, you know, we're sheriff's deputies. We're highly trained with firearms, and we knew how to use our weapons. At some point I yell and I said, hey man, this is not cool or kosher, you know, coming into a man's camp at night like this. Come out from behind the tree. I got no answer or no response. I later would also see, not only was it to the right of the oak tree, that he was leaning out from the other side of the oak tree.
How many feet,
And
Martin? How many feet? I hate to
oh,
interrupt you.
at least 6 to 7, maybe 8 foot.
Oh, it's
It was so
close.
hard to tell.
Jeez.
Now, we've been back to this very tree, and we have done some measurements as years passed, and it was definitely between 7 and 8 feet.
That's pretty
So
close.
we're talking a huge creature, and it definitely, at the time, I still thought it was a man. And that's when something come off the ridge above us. I'm hollering at the person behind the tree. We get noise above the ridge that is directly above us, and the first thing was like a branch, a broken part of a tree that flew off, and it came and it hurtled. It didn't fall down. It didn't like roll down this embankment. It was hurtled. It was thrown, and it stuck in the ground, and it hit the ground with a kaput, and it's very loud. And I'm looking at the tree. Then I'm starting to look at the ridge above me, and I'm putting all this together. We're talking back and forth, and we're getting rather nervous. We're two old country boys, but we're getting very nervous. And the feelings we're having, we don't understand, other than, hey, somebody is really screwing with us. That's when a large rock, between 25 to 35 pounds, possibly greater, is thrown from the top of this ridge, and it lands between my partner and I, and it hits the ground. And that's when I get pretty angry. I won't even say the colorful metaphors. I was a police officer, so I'd learned another language called street language. And by this time, I had really escalated. And I remember that I was really building up and began to get triggered. And I'm screaming and hollering. My partner is doing the same. He's looking up. I'm looking up. We're looking over here. That's when we heard the most. This is when it kind of gets hard when I speak about it, but we began to hear auditory. We could hear the most intense growling. Now, please understand, I know every noise in the woods. I was raised on a farm. I know what all the animals, farm animals, make. I've been a bear hunter for many years. I had never heard a growl like this in the woods with me. I had heard cougars, bobcats. Nothing would equal to what we heard. And with such great intensity that this growling seemed to be perpetrating. I'll speak for myself. I know what my partner said, but it penetrated my chest, and I could actually feel it. At this point, I began to get tunnel vision, and I began to get very strange feelings in my stomach. And I began to, I know my heart was racing. When you get tunnel vision, your ears also are affected. And I'm having all this happening just like I was being involved in something back in my work, whether if it was a shooting or some horrible event taking place. All this is taking place. Now, at some point, this growling goes beyond my ear range. I can still feel this growling, and I can feel this penetrating my chest, and I felt as if I was frozen. But I could no longer hear the growl. I could only feel it in my body. I know that doesn't make sense, but there are explanations of this now. At this same time, I am hearing something in the creek bank or in the creek bed that is directly behind us, and something is coming towards us. Now, Doug, I was scared. I had all these feelings and all these raging emotions like nothing I had ever felt before. I felt like I was literally frozen and could not move. And in fact, I could not move. That's when a beast, a creature comes walking in, and that would be actually west of our camp. This beast came in from the west, and as it got closer to me, I began to get a visual of it. And I could see that it was on two legs. I could see that it was not a bear. I could tell that it was no creature that I'd ever seen in the woods before. And it would get closer to me and then it would back away. At some point, it began to get closer to me. And this is a part that I hid for many years. I would not speak of it no matter who talked to me. And I kept this part quiet for many years. That was the very first time that I had ever engaged in what some folks will call mind speak. And I'm standing there frozen, and this creature is attempting to communicate with me. And it would get close to me, and it would bare its teeth. And immediately, and post attack, I knew that this thing was feeding off my fear. I could feel it feeding off of my fear, and it seemed to get stronger, and it seemed to each time come closer to me. And as it got closer to me is when I very first experienced mind speak. And the message I was receiving, whether if it was my subconscious or if it was whatever that this voice was in my head, it said, I am going to kill you, and there's nothing that you can do. Well, I don't mind telling you, even in my dreams now, this haunts me, and it still traumatizes me. The only thing that I could think to do at that time, and I recall vividly that this is it. This is where we're both going to die. And the only thing that came to my mind was my religious upbringing. And I began to pray, and I prayed deep in my mind, and I could not pray verbally yet. And I prayed, and I continued to deeply pray, and I began reciting the shepherd's prayer, Psalms 23 of David that he had written. And the more that I prayed, the stronger I felt. I felt as if I was gaining my composure, and I felt stronger. And I noticed that the more that I prayed, that my prayer not only was inside my brain and in my mind, I began to be able to speak, and I began to pray verbally. I noticed that this beast, this canine creature that is at least 6 foot in height, I could see its eyes, I could see its teeth. The terror that I had been feeling, I began to get strong. And I know that's hard to understand, but I began to get stronger. And it absolutely was, forgive me, I lost my earbud here. And as I got stronger, this creature began to back away from me. And at some point, my training kicks in. Now, most police officers, Doug, as you stated, you had ridden with an officer, and I'm sure that you developed some type of a relationship with this man. And we're highly trained in the use of a firearm. And at some point, my training kicks in, and I retrieved my handgun that was underneath my hunting vest, and I pulled it on this creature. Now, I'm still frightened, but there's something inside of me that I'm growing stronger, and it's time for me to take a stand. And I noticed that when I pulled my firearm and I aimed at center mass of this creature, that it was highly intelligent. It wasn't like when I've hunted grizzly bear or black bear. This thing backed away from me. Now, most police officers, if you get them to open up, they'll tell you that pulling a firearm is one of the most serious aspects of the job. You have to know where that round, when it leaves your barrel, you have to know what you're shooting at, why you're shooting. you have to know where that round's going to go. You have to account for where the possibility of a bystander, and all these things are going through my mind. And guys, I didn't know what I was seeing. I've had all these feelings, these emotions, all these feelings of dread and anxiety. So I hesitated. I thought maybe this possibility that this is some type of a terrible joke, that there's an individual in a costume. All these things go and understand that a street shooting can be from 1 to 3 seconds or less. And I had to make up my mind. So when I saw this thing back away from me, I lowered my firearm. I dropped my handgun down to a port carry and towards the ground. That's when things changed. When I lowered my pistol, it advanced towards me. And when it advanced towards me, I could see its teeth and its eyes. And the eyes on this creature was nothing that I'd ever had seen. I did not think, no longer, when it advanced towards me, this is not a man in a suit. This is something that is evil, and it is going to take us out. I immediately fired tac-tac 2 rounds in a millisecond, center mass, center chest. Now, guys, I explained to you that most of us know how to use a firearm on the street. To this very day, when I go for my training, I score very high on the range. I didn't miss what I was shooting at that night, Doug. All of a sudden, this thing dissipates in my very eyes. It is gone. I hear the rounds go out, the flash of the barrel. I can see the creature very vividly, and it's gone. Almost immediately, simultaneously, when I have fired, my hunting partner behind me was carrying a double-barrel shotgun. He fired both barrels that I would find later in the direction of where whoever, whatever, was behind this oak tree. Both barrels. And he carried a very powerful shotgun. So when he discharges these 2 barrels, I'm hearing something like it ran up the ridge, which would be an impossible feat for a physical action for anything normal. Then we start to hear him scurrying and running on the ridge that is above us. He has shot something in behind this tree. Whatever he has shot is squealing and screaming bloody murder and tearing the cane patch down. And the next thing I know, my hunting partner is screaming and he is running for his life towards the pickup truck, which was quite a few yards away from us. I'm left standing there and he's running and he's screaming, and I know it's time for us to make a tactical retreat. But I'm doing so a little bit slower, and I'm covering him, and I'm covering the woods. I'm trying to cover the ridge line above me. I go running for the truck, jump the bumper. I get into the back end of this pickup truck, and I'm thinking, okay, we're going to get out of here. At all this time that has taken place, there is so much movement in the camp that whatever these beasts were, whatever had came in, they had entered our camp now that we had exited. My hunting partner turns on the lamps of his pickup truck, gets it started, the lights goes on, and whoom, right in front of our pickup truck, the headlamps catch what is in the cornfield. And I saw for the first time what I knew that I'd seen on the ridge with a guy in a ghillie suit, except it wasn't a guy in a ghillie suit. Now, imagine that I had no thought of Bigfoot or any creatures like this, but I know what I'm seeing in the headlamps are 2 different creatures that are different than what is in my campfire. What is in my campfire is canine creatures, wolf-like creatures, and what I have seen in the cornfield in front of us is definitely what you would call a Bigfoot or the hairy man. These things are over 8 foot in height. They're huge. They're monstrous. And I recall telling people that what I'd seen inside of the cornfield was not what you'd see on TV, like Harry and the Hendersons. These things were very ugly. One was down on all fours, and the other was standing up. So when I jump into the pickup truck, this is what I see. My hunting partner finally grabs the drive, and he puts it in drive, gets it geared up, gets it going. As we're exiting, I'm getting a message from whatever is in the cornfield. And the message that I received was, go, leave now, we let you win this time. Something to that effect is in my head. And I could not believe the scenario. Everything that I've told you here, this all takes place in a matter of moments. As we're exiting and we're getting out of this place, we have to cross a very deep ravine that leads into in and out of a place. It's called Rushing Creek. And as we're exiting, I'm standing in the back of this truck. I'm hanging on for dear life. I can see from the fire glow that there's 3, 4 creatures, maybe more. They are ripping and tearing up my camp. And I can see these things real good because they're close to the fire. And all of them appeared the same. They were nothing like what was in the cornfield. And it's very important to remember that because the investigations later on that I will tell you about. So as we're leaving, one of these creatures was trying to hang on to the right side of his pickup truck and went down the side of his pickup truck and left deep claw marks, gashes in this old pickup truck. I would later find out that my hunting partner actually hit one of these things. And that's the one that was hanging on, trying to get up into the back with me, but he had struck it as he went down the creek and then back up the other bank. All this takes place in a matter of moments. My partner was not about to slow down his truck, and he was not going to let me inside the pickup truck. And I'm hanging on for dear life. We make a mass exodus. We get out of Dodge, and I'm banging on the top of this pickup truck, trying to get him to slow down, let me in. At some point, after we're a few miles from this location, he does stop. He lets me in, and we have an argument. I want to go to the ranger station and report this. I have discharged my firearm. I've been trained. I know what I'm supposed to do. And I want to warn the ranger station, as well as other hikers in the area, that there's something in these woods. And my hunting partner did not want to do this. He wanted to leave. He wanted to get out of Dodge, forget this has happened, not tell anyone. So we argued about it, and we drove to what we know now as the South Check-in Station in Land Between the Lakes. And this is an area that at the time closed at dark, and I did not know this. The Rangers had gone for the day, and we had another another argument at that time about staying the night. And I was able to win the argument and persuaded him to drive back deeper into the park and wait until the next day. And it took some quite considerable talking to my partner because he was upset. Now, this is the partner that I have told. This is the part that I've told. But you got to understand that during this altercation, we have we expelled what was in our body. My partner had thrown up. I had done some upchucking, but we had both we used the bathroom on ourselves. That's the only way to say it on air. And so we got parked. We changed our clothes the best that we could and cleaned up. And we stayed that night, and I slept on top of the roof of the pickup truck while my buddy slept inside of his truck with the doors locked, and I kept vigil on top of this pickup truck. So all night long, I kept reliving all this, and I knew that it had to be reported. I had to tell this. And as the morning progressed, we got up, cleaned up some more, put our clothes away, dirty clothes and things away. And at some point, we had seen along the trace, we could hear sirens, and I could see the faint glow of blue lights that morning that would later on let us know that there was something else taking place in the park that night. We drove, exited, went back towards the south check-in station, which is located the south end of the park on what is known as Highway 79. And as we get closer to the park, there's quite a bit of vehicles. There is actual news media that was there, and we didn't know if it was because of us. We didn't know what had happened in the park, but when we went in and I began to tell the story to one of the rangers, we were taken outside and talked to, and basically told that we had overreacted, that these were probably bear in the park, and that they was basically we were poaching bear. If we have shot and wounded a bear, we'd be charged with it, which is also ironic because the year now that we're speaking is 2025, and only within the last month and a half has the park administration admitted that there are black bears in the woods of LBL. So my partner and I are having a heck of a time with these rangers, and they're not telling us about what is going on. And there's a search party that is in the parking lot, and while the rangers are checking our papers, checking our hunting license, and we're checking and verifying the license and our commission cards, and is calling our sheriff, I talked with members of the search team who informed me that there had been a killing in the park that night, that there had been, in fact, a hunter pulled out of his tent and had been predated upon and had been ripped apart. When I first began to tell you the story, I gave you some details of a hunter that I had spoken to. And one of the details, being a police officer, I noticed that he had a firefighter tag. He had a state of Kentucky firefighter tag, and that he had other things, stickers inside of his windshield. As we're in the parking lot of the South Check Station, here comes a wrecker pulling said truck. It is the truck of the man that I had spoken to, and I knew that it was. It pulled into the parking lot, and some of the rangers went over and talked to the wrecker driver, and it left. At some point after arguing with these folks, I had gotten tired. I had minded my manners, and I had kept my tongue and had been decent the entire time. I had been threatened about being written or arrested for bear poaching. I had been called a city slicker that had overreacted and had never spent a night in the woods in my life. And that's when I confronted the man about that. I knew what bears were. I also confronted him about the pickup truck that had left. And in any event, after he's speaking with my sheriff, we were told to go back to the county that we are employed in and never return to Land Between the Lakes nor speak of this. Now, I would later find out that the person that was killed was, in fact, and I have met the family and have spoken with the family in the years to come. The gentleman was out of the state of Kentucky and was a great man. He was married, had one child, and he was killed that night. I believe that prior to the visit into our camp, that these beasts had visited his camp. And all the details that I've spoken to you tonight about, I've been very quiet. There's times that I would speak about the mind concerning the mind speak. There's times that I would speak of different things that this beast had done. But as time progresses, I have become more bold in my speak and my language to tell as much as I can in detail. And the reason why I do this is so that if some hunter hears me, that he or she will see the warning signs and fare well instead of becoming a statistic. Now, Doug, this is what has led me on a quest since 1993 to discover what these beasts were and the phenomenon that I have spoken since 1993 with over 2,000 eyewitnesses that their incidents may be extremely profound, or they may only see a little something or hear something in the woods. But out of all these thousands of witnesses, they describe some of the same things that I have seen. And this has caused me to also investigate any missing persons in the park, things that cannot be explained. And the list goes on as far as the incidents and of the years that we've had incidents this very month, things that other investigators or researchers have seen concerning these same types of beasts. But from the beginning of time, the beginning of the state's history of Kentucky and Tennessee until today's date, there are still, these creatures are being seen by different people, all walks of life, whether if it's researchers, farmers, fishermen, hunters, people driving through the park, people cleaning the headstones inside all the 225 plus cemeteries, plus the other cemeteries that are not logged. But that should give you some idea of what led me into this.
Yeah, wow. That's pretty insane.
Yes.
Is there any details? I'm just going to ask you point blank, Martin.
Yes.
Are there any details that you just haven't shared yet?
There are some, not as much as concerning this incident. Now, there are some things that I do drag out of myself. When the beast approached me, it had part of an arm and forearm in its left hand or talons, and I could see that it was carrying flesh. And at the time, I knew exactly what it was. It was the arm of another human, just the forearm and part of a hand, and it was in its left claws.
Is this
and that's
new
something
info?
that I hid for a very long time.
I haven't heard this. Is this new info?
No, I have spoke about it more so
okay.
in when I'm in a setting such as a conference and I'm not being taped or photographed. I would sometimes speak of this. I have under some interviews spoke about it, but not in this detail. I'm more boisterous now than I ever was, because I feel like that I will never have to enter a court system again and testify to any type of criminal trials that I was involved in as a police officer. And the other thing that I have decided that I also no longer care about what people think. A dear lady, Linda Godfrey, I'll never forget some of the statements that came from her and some witness. I know what I saw.
Yeah.
And it can't, I don't even attempt to try to make people believe now in Bigfoot or these Dogman creatures or stuff. I'm mainly doing this now for my own investigations and to learn more.
Yeah.
And to obtain more information. But
it's therapy.
Yeah, that was one of the things that I kept to myself for many years. And the other thing is my discussion concerning what my hunting partner actually told me, that later he would tell me close to when he was almost gone. My partner on his deathbed, he and I spoke about this many times. And I was fortunate enough before he died that I actually took him out to the spot, and we were able. You see, Doug, my hunt partner for many years blamed me with this because I was the one that had chosen the hunting spot in the area. And I guess if you have to blame someone, I was the one to blame, in his eyes. But we were able to amend fences, and we were able to become the friends and brothers that we were. But this gentleman had severe health consequences following this incident.
So-
he had a heart attack. And go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to mention many times when friends have some kind of an encounter, they don't talk anymore. I mean, their friendship doesn't break up officially; it just kind of fades apart. Is that sort of what happened to you two?
Probably for almost 20 years, 2 decades before we would ever speak again. And it was only the year that he had discovered that he actually had cancer that he had reached out to me, and we began to try to reconnect. And but for many years he could not deal with what he had saw. To be straight and honest with you tonight, I still have problems with the same ideal, and I've had, since this incident, I've had multiple encounters from my investigations, including as recent as January, that myself and another investigator called Mike Smith had a incident where we saw creatures just like this. But yeah, it was very hard for my hunting partner to actually even speak to me and I'll never forget that when we did reconnect, the first contact was over telephone, and that we both cried. The emotion was immense. One, because we were speaking again, and we had loved each other. I mean, this guy was just like a brother to me. He had protected my life, and I had protected his life on the street. And then we get into an incident like this at Land Between the Lakes, and so it was very intense.
Yeah. What kind of trauma did he ever admit to?
Horrible nightmares. He had horrible nightmares. He actually had went home and he'd either suffered a stroke during this attack, or it gave him heart attack symptoms after the incident, and his hands were never the same. He had problems with his hands, and especially his left arm. And he had a lot of nightmares, noises inside of his home. He became a recluse, locked himself in his home for all these years. I did go through a part of that a little bit, but I had to force myself to go back to work. I had a family, and so just the sheer dread, fear, and terror that man felt. And same for me, but it led for many years of just, there's no description for it. Just the trauma of it.
Do you still, excuse me, do you get anxiety before you go back there?
I do. Somewhere in the years, it took me over like a year to 2 years before I could ever go there. Then it took me a long time before I could ever camp there at nighttime and sleep. It took years to slowly build up, work into that. But I knew one thing. It's like getting back on the saddle of the horse when you get a broke arm. You've got to get back in there and do it. Do I have trouble today? Yes. I still have nightmares, and I'm plagued with these nightmares, and still continue to fight this creature in my sleep. But I had to go back. I had to get back in there, and I had to hit the saddle. Since then, I go in there now by myself. I have a hammock, sleeping bag, I go in some of the deep woods by myself because for years now, we have researched the park area and in the Smoky Mountains as well. And I have developed some techniques, and I do some investigations on my own. I've had mine speak with Bigfoot mainly, and I have discovered a lot of things in part of this park where we know that these creatures exist. Um, it's hard to describe, but
Well, share. Why don't you
yeah, sure,
go ahead
sure.
and share some details that nobody's
Okay.
heard?
One of the areas that I researched was on the Barkley Lake, Cumberland Riverside, and on my off-duty part-time work outside the sheriff's department in the 1990s, 80s, and 90s, I worked at an area called the Bell Witch Cave. And there was an individual that used to come to the Bell Witch Cave that was from Oklahoma. And he was a Cherokee elder and a healer. And we became friends over the years. And I had shared my story with this Cherokee elder. And he and I began to research an area. I had been contacted by a sheriff from another county that wanted me to investigate a cemetery. And this cemetery, and actually we ended up leading Adam Davies into this area. And if you've heard any of his latest interviews, he always speaks about I had to get an old Kentucky hillbilly to take me into the hills of Kentucky to see a Bigfoot face to face, and which is a true story. And so this agency contacted me. There's a cemetery in the area of the Cumberland where we had been investigating and communicating with a family of 5 Bigfoot that I didn't know much at the time about gifting. And the man that I met and had taught me, we would leave things such as tobacco, spices, sage, and we would receive different things from the Bigfoot family or clan. I received mine speak as well as he did. And this elder taught me quite a bit about what he knew from Oklahoma and what his tribe and what his people had told him about the Bigfoot. And we carried this into this area. Now, the reason why the sheriff's officer wanted me to investigate the area is because when people would go to the cemetery to put flowers on the graves, they would be struck with rocks, they would have screams, and they would have contact with an animal that stood between 8 and 10 feet tall, and that's what the witness had told me. But in one particular incident that caused me to go there originally was that a Bigfoot had thrown what we down here call a hedge apple through the windshield of the station wagon of the car. And I don't know if you have hedge apples where the area where you live, but a hedge apple is about the size of a large grapefruit and is about as hard as any granite rock that there is until they turn to mush. Okay. And so that's what caused me to go there. And subsequently, my friend began to go with me, and we began to have interactions with the family that lived above this ridge. One of the members of the Bigfoot clan was called, and this is what the elder was told, he was called Grandfather. And we subsequently began to call it and interact with this Bigfoot that was called Grandfather. And they would leave us things like turtle shells, fish, and they had built, whether if they built it or if a human built it, I'm not certain, but this would all be left at a rock cairn just above the cemetery. and it was about 4 feet in height. There were shells, and it was like a rock obsolete that would stand up off the ground, and they would leave objects in front of it.
These are what, clamshells?
Clamshells, all different kinds of things that was in the river.
Yeah.
And I might add too that we had witnesses that come forth. There was a car dealer just outside of Cadiz, Kentucky, that he and his son were in there, and they saw a group of Bigfoot down in the river bay there of the Cumberland River that were actually digging up and eating these river, like they're called river mussels, but they would be equivalent to a clamshell.
Yeah.
And they're probably, they're bigger, as big or bigger than an oyster.
Well, Adam Colt was down in the LBL not too long ago, and he found a bunch of what he called like traps for clams or mussels or whatever that were kind of built out of stones, kind of these rings that would go out into the water. He found a ton of them. He thought it was interesting. Then he would find piles of shells out in the woods.
Yes.
First thing I want to ask, it's burning. It's just burning I got to get this out.
Yes.
Have you noticed a connection with corn? You did mention there was a corn cob thrown at somebody.
Yes.
But so many of these sightings involve like a cornfield that's not terribly far away. Are there any cornfields around there at all?
Oh, yes. The area that I'm speaking of, there is a cornfield approximately 200, maybe 300 yards to the west of our site.
Oh, really?
Of this cemetery. And so there's a large cornfield that planted there every year. And which I might add is pretty sad, because the cornfield actually, according to LIDAR and reports that we have, that this is area, there's a huge Indian mound that dates back to the Adena or the Woodlands Indians. And it's very possible that in this cornfield that, unfortunately, this is an area that was where a village was at one time, charcoal deposits and things like that we've picked up on. So this was a highly active area for the Indians of their day.
Have you thought about the corn connection at all?
Oh, yes. Most of the places that we now research, there will be corn, and they also plant some different types of wheat that is left for the birds each year, for the different types of game birds that's in the area. But the cornfields are always a part of the sightings, where people see they're in that corn, they're working that corn, and no doubt that they're eating the corn. Yeah,
that's so weird, especially for something that's supposed to be dog related. You know,
yes.
it's just bizarre. But you know, Linda Godfrey, I had the pleasure of spending time with her out in Wisconsin, and you know, where she had all those sightings. And I didn't realize my brother lived there, right on Bray Road. I didn't even know that. Yeah. So anyhow,
so he was there. He was there in the general location.
He was in that whole thing, and then he had
wow.
He had bought Linda's book, which was weird because we never talked about the paranormal ever.
Sure.
And yet he lived. I'm like, there's no way.
God bless that lady. So
yeah, she was so wonderful,
and
she
excellent,
really was.
Truthful research, very truthful.
She was beyond sweet and just so generous with her time, and yeah, she was amazing. So funny too. She had a great sense of humor.
She did. She actually had a great sense of humor.
I wasn't with her 5 minutes, and she was making fun of my GPS. I think never mind.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
So
I'm trying to think
before we
here.
Before we move on to anything, I'd like to tell you this area that we were speaking of is where we led Relic Films in Adam Davies, and I told Jeff a short version of today, and I'll keep it short. But this very area, Adam Davies, we were in the land between the lakes, and he wanted to go to an area that was a probable area of actually having a sighting. And I really hadn't. We had already finished the film we were making with Greg Ogles and Relic Films, and we were actually over. It was done, but we're sitting around the campfire, and we're sitting there with 4 or 5 individuals. And he leans over, and he, in his English guttural accent, he says, "Martin, please take me to some place where we're going to see a Bigfoot. I've been on many Bigfoot hunts, but I want to see one." And I recall that saying something to the effect, "Be careful what you wish for." And I was reluctant, and to carry a film crew into this area. And very last minute, we made a decision in a 20 or 30-minute period of time. And I carried him into this area that I've been speaking of, where there was a family unit of at least 5 Bigfoot. And that night, during filming, they were charged. One of the bigger, larger adult Bigfoot charged our cameraman. And in all fairness to our cameraman, he's a great man. But he had never seen, he was not even a Bigfoot or a Dogman believer. That night, he would later tell me, he said, I believe now, Mr. Groves. But one of the larger Bigfoots charged him, and I think the reason being was the camera was also the type of imagery that could see the heat, and it could make out, and it had a glow or something in that camera that I really believe upset that Bigfoot, and it charged our cameraman and our crew and Adam Davies. And at the last moment, it stopped just short. But by that time, our cameraman, he had decided it was time to leave.
Well, did he actually see something, Martin?
He did, and they have something, but it's not really clear in the camera lens or the footage. But Adam saw it. Other members that was with us saw the Bigfoot, and there was a lady with us that I probably don't have permission to share her name, but she was a camera person as well. And one of these things had went from about 100 to 150 feet screaming at us and was directly in my face of about 8 to 10 feet away in a matter of a second. 1 second. It was like 1 second all that many feet away from us, and then it's right there, and then it disappears from our sight. And that's when there was at least 4 to 5 that surrounded our area where our cameraman was. It was a very exciting night, to say the least.
Yeah, I heard some of the details. It sounded like it. Could you describe, Martin, any details that you've noticed about these creatures when you've seen them that maybe people get wrong, or is it maybe you can just kind of give us a firsthand account of what you did notice their appearance?
The old one that had mind spoke me on many occasions. I would have questions, and sometime I would not receive any answers from this very old looking Bigfoot that had gray silverish hair mixed in with black hair. The eyes, I think a lot of people miss. The eyes that I saw didn't even have a pupil. They were just jet black. And at other times when there was a light source, the color of the eye. I'm working right now with a couple of optometrists that are studying the different colors of the eye shine of Bigfoot. I think a lot of people get the height and the weight of these beings or creatures wrong. I've seen small, young, juvenile Bigfoot, but I have seen some magnificent beasts that were at least 10 feet in height. They're not small. These things are very large in their weight. I think what a lot of researchers miss is they believe that they're totally flesh and blood. I do not believe that. I do not believe for an instant that these things are completely flesh and blood. I think they have that ability, but I think that they have the ability as well as to change themselves, appear completely. One moment you can see them, one moment you cannot see them, and they change. They do an energy and matter transfer to where that they can actually disappear. A lot of eyewitnesses will say that they see a Bigfoot and they will follow the Bigfoot tracks out into the middle of the field, and then they're gone. This will sound crazy to you, but I've opened up more to you. Now, I've spoken in depth with people such as Barton Nunley, Ron Moorhead, Daryl Denton, Mike Smith, people that my colleagues. I have seen Bigfoot that are not even touching the ground. Daryl Denton and I had an encounter in 2023, I think it was, where the creature we saw was actually running, but it was at least 4 feet off the ground.
Oh, gee.
It was just as if it was gliding. That was told in one of the Small Town Monsters versions of American Werewolves, or the Land Between the Werewolves of Land Between the Lakes, and that one was an incident that was very, very, very frightful. But I think a lot of investigators or eyewitnesses don't realize they're just not flesh and blood. They have such abilities that we may never understand. But it goes to quantum science. Things can be explained if you have an open mind to be able to understand them.
But what do you think their niche is for Bigfoots? And then when I ask it about, Dogmen, what do you think their niche is? Everything has a purpose.
I don't really know. I have personal opinions that I do share.
Do you think they might have an ecological niche? Like pushing trees down, or clearing forest. I don't know. It's got to be a reason.
There's some reason that we see these things and the different interactions that we have with these creatures, whether it be the Bigfoot or the Dogman. My answer is they have always existed. They've been here since time, and more than likely will be here as long as the earth exists. I do believe that these creatures, there is a direct correlation to the removing of trees in the Land Between the Lakes, and where we have eyewitness accounts and where we have some angry style attacks, more than trying to push an individual out of an area. There have been some more violent attacks where there have been logging along the Devil's Backbone area, and they range from people disappearing. One soldier was ripped apart in his tent and drug out, and this was in the area that they had just done some logging along the Devil's Backbone, and it cleared many acres.
Tommy, I've been hogging every damn question.
No, it's cool. This has been unbelievable. Martin, thank you so much for sharing that. I've heard many Dogman encounters, and that is terrifying, man.
So obviously Tommy's from the UK. Tommy, what questions do you have? And also for the audience, it's a great time to get your questions down. Just put them in caps if you can. Tommy, what would you ask,
Martin? Can I ask you that with the mind speak? Can you describe what these creatures sounded like? Was it your voice, or was it another voice?
It was another voice, and sometimes it would almost sound not really authoritative, but it would. You can imagine it was a very strong voice, and it was always has been a male style of voice, and very gruff. Sometimes I would not understand what they have to say. I have also experienced many times verbal speak, where it sounds like chatter, or what we hear in the tapes of the Sierra Sounds, or what Professor R. Scott Nelson has studied. I have heard that, as some people refer to as the samurai chatter. And I have heard that not in my head, but in my ears, where I actually know that I'm hearing it. And most of the time when I hear that, I do not know that if it is directed at or toward me, but when I receive mind speak, sometimes I can also hear within my head what I consider a high pitched and very, very fast sentences. And then it slows down and it goes from this very fast, extremely, it would be like me trying to explain where a super duper tape recording of someone, where it's fast forwarded at a high advanced speed, and then it would slow down and I would get mind speak. And I remember one time vividly, one of the questions that I had asked over and over and over of this extremely large grandfather figure of the clan, I would always ask him things such as, where do you come from? How old are you? Was something that I always wanted to know. And the one time that I got this samurai chatter in my head and in my ears, and it slowed down to this gruff voice, he replied in answer to me, I am older than the mountains of smoke. I never could get a definitive answer from any Bigfoot that I've had mine speak within the areas of some of the places of Scott Carpenter's locations in the areas of the mountains, Smoky Mountains, and I've received mind chatter or mind speak there as well, but I've never gotten a definitive answer to the question that I asked about where do they come from. That is something I've never received an answer for.
So do you ask questions, or do you just get these voices kind of barging in, a different voice?
It's almost like they're barging or coming at you.
Yeah.
There are times that I sit and listen. There are times that I am totally frozen.
Doesn't that
all I
freak
could
you
do
out?
is sit there in a transcendental state, like, and I'm only able to hear and not understand what is being said to me. I think to me, it's almost as if my frustration is the same as theirs to a communication level. I'm not certain if they know how to communicate, or certain ones do, but certain others do not have that skill. And I don't know if that makes sense, but that's how I feel about it. I feel like they're trying to contact me, and either I'm so in my human state, I'm too ignorant to understand what they're saying, or I don't understand if it is truly a language.
Okay, so Tommy, do you get reports over there of Dogman?
We do. There's a lot of people that see these creatures, Bigfoot, Dogmen. I think if they're here in the UK, there's definitely a supernatural element to them. Like in the US as well. But just behind me, I've got a large forest, and that's got a devil dog law.
Yeah.
So these things are reported all over the world. To be honest, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
And that's what I find so fascinating. These things appear in every culture all over the world.
Yeah, and that would go along with your theory, Martin, that they're not from here.
Think about this for just a moment. I find it utterly fascinating. Now Jeff dealt with me, and we spoke briefly, and I can give you the nomenclature of most firearms. I can give you different ideas and things about all different techniques of life itself and the things that we have to know and the wisdom. But think of this for just a moment. Isn't it funny that before the telephone was invented, before we had a pager system or that we text, that the different types of native Indians or the natives to their own soil, from Australia to Russia to Alaska and all points in between, they certainly did not send smoke signals, but yet we have pictographs, or we have images of the same creatures being drawn, such as the ones in Australia, as compared to almost the very same type of drawing in the walls and caves of Washington, to the Alaska, to my friend up in Alaska, Fred Roll, to the things that they have seen. They didn't have cell phones. They didn't have smoke signals. They never had contact, but yet the same history, the oral history, which
Yeah.
may I please throw this in, and I'm going to quote my friend Fred
That's
Roll.
strong. I mean, it's strong evidence.
The oral history of our Native Americans or the Indians is not lore. It's not LORE. It is their true oral history. Whether if it was the Australian outback and the story that was passed from mouth to ear, it's not lore. There is truth in the stories that they passed from family to family, from generation to generation.
Mhm.
I agree.
See, Tommy, do you want to read some of these questions that we're getting?
Yes. Let's
I
have a
don't know
look.
if you can access chat, but I'll put this one up here.
Did the clan stop interacting with you after you brought in the film crew?
You know, I can't even read the person that wrote that, and it's such a great question, and I really thank you for asking that.
That's from Lee
And
Warner.
it's got to be it may be someone that knew me. I love Relic Films, and I love Greg Ogles and Adam Davies and Natalie Smearman, everyone involved. But it has taken me almost 14 months to reestablish. After I brought the film crew in to this area, and it was probably one of my greatest research areas that I've ever had. And so it took me 14 months before I was even able to reestablish any form of communication or contact.
Wow.
And they actually moved from that area. And Mike Smith, another person that I research with, Mike and I have only just recently discovered where they have moved to, and the area where there's some caves and some areas down by the Cumberland River. But yes, that's a great question, man. I've had an extremely hard time, and there are areas that I will never lead. Any film crew. As a matter of fact, there's areas that I refuse to even share with other researchers because I don't want to lose that I don't want to break that trust I've established. For instance, I wear the same clothes over and over into the same area, and if I change shirts, when I come back the next time, I will try to find a shirt of a similar color.
Good
and
idea.
I try to always.
That's a good
establish
idea.
the thing.
That's part of our tech breakdown tonight, Jeff.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
smart. That's really smart. I like that.
Tech
Yeah.
breakdown tips. That's a good one, actually.
Very good.
Do you feel the same terrifying feeling when you have Bigfoot encounters like your Dogman encounters, or are they completely different? And this comes from Vincent Tipping.
Very, very good question. I've had a little of both, but I have almost the same. I've learned through, and I hope nobody minds me saying this, but through God and through my extremely religious beliefs, I've learned to control the fear. But I do still, from time to time, if I know I'm dealing with multiple creatures. Recently, myself, Barton Nunley, and Daryl Denton and I were surrounded by some creatures in an area of what we know as the Jones Creek area. And I will be honest, that was probably because I knew it was multiple creatures and I knew they were unfriendly. Yeah, I was terrified. But as the other two men will tell you, man, this don't sound good, me saying this. I don't know how to say it.
Just say it.
I've charged in the woods unarmed, and I will begin to chant certain prayers. And even though if I am terrified, I can run into the woods head first into whatever is out there. And I know that there are certain ancient prayers that I use that go back for 17 centuries, and even prayers that Jesus Christ himself spoke, which we have that same authority that is invested by him to us. And I can say these prayers and the woods will go silent and they will disappear. I've got witnesses, guys. There's been many witnesses with me that have seen me do this. But yes, I still get feelings of terror. and they are the same level of magnitude, but I still bank on, I pull it out of my little reserve bank, and I go back to my Lord and God that keeps me to being so terrified.
Well, I often wonder about their demeanor. They're well-meaning, or are they killers? And I'm talking about. Can you mention both Dogman and Bigfoot? What do you think about the demeanor going on with both creatures? Are they dangerous?
Just like in human beings, I've encountered good human beings and bad ones, no matter of their race, creed, color. I've experienced the same thing with Bigfoot and Dogman. Now, I will have to back up and say I have a friend that lives in Texas that has told me his story that he has encountered a dogman on his farm that has not only saved his life, but has helped him on his farm in many ways. I personally have never encountered a good dogman. I've only felt the sheer evil and level and magnitude that I felt like that my life was in danger each and every time. Now there is a correlation that I have discovered, and there have been others that speak like I do, that the Bigfoot and Dogmen sometimes work together in unison. Whether if it is my belief and what I've experienced is that the Bigfoot actually command the Dogman and use them in hunting purposes and other reasons. But I've experienced good Bigfoot as well as bad ones that I know are prepared to kill and eat you. I mean, old fat guy like me, I'm on the menu, and I know that I am. I'm not the apex predator in the woods, and I take that into consideration when I enter.
When you go out there, do you just sleep out in the open, or do you have a tent? Or
there's been times that we use tents and canvas tarps. Look, I know I'm a big dude, but they actually make this real cool system now that I like, and it is a hammock that you stretch between. It will hold up to 400 pounds, and I'm like 260, 270, and I can stretch out in my hammock. Now, guys, when people want to have a interaction with Bigfoot, you are more out to have interaction with a Bigfoot if you are alone, you're unarmed, you do not present yourself in a warlike, belligerent attitude. So I go out into the woods, I'll sleep in my hammock, I take a frying pan, and I always cook and leave food in that frying pan when I go to bed and go to sleep at night. Now, do I have an interaction every single time? Certainly I don't. But there, on a larger scale, usually I will have some form of contact with a Bigfoot in the area that I go to. But it's because I'm by myself.
Can you give us an example, Martin, of what you consider a contact?
Certainly, either I actually have contact visually, or I receive mind speak. Sometimes it will be in form of what some people call tree knocks, and I'm certain they probably are tree knocks. Ron Moorhead and I both have spoken about this many times. We believe that they can make certain noises through their throat that will sound like a tree knock. But one thing that I have visually seen with my own eyes is they stomp the ground. And when they stomp the ground with the power and strength that these things have, man, it is a sound. On the film crew that we had with Adam Davies, we had one stomping the ground that night. But yes, so contact visually, where we see them either coming in and out of trees, or that they appear in our camp. I've had one take my frying pan and never bring it back. I've had them touch my tent or my sleeping hammock. I've had them actually push, and I don't react. I remain still. I don't verbal. I don't move or do anything. But those are types of contact that we will have when we're out there.
Crazy. Tommy, there's a question. Maybe you can read it.
Yes, from Kenny Hess.
Yeah.
Martin, how many people do you know of that have come up missing in the LBL since your experience?
We have a number right now, and it fluctuates because sometimes the people that are on the missing list will later either be found and they disappeared of their own accord. The best guess, and I mean this, the best guess I have between myself, other researchers, other investigators, I had a list at one time that led up to 38. I had to drop one of them off because that ended up being unfortunately a intentional. They took off into the woods and committed suicide, and at the time we didn't know what it was. So, but estimate since 1967 in the park, since 67 when the park was created, I've got anywhere between 30 and 40 people as a good guesstimate. Now, I know, and we realize when we get together as researchers, there's only a few researchers that I trust, and then I will give information to, and that some things we won't make public. Some things we're told that we have to be very confidential about, whether if it's with law enforcement or other researchers themselves. But you have to understand that you don't get a lot of help from the Bureau of Land Management, and previously was the Tennessee Valley Authority. But one thing in my advantage is that when I was a policeman and still working there, before I retired, I was the local president of the Fraternal Order of Police in my area and in my state of Tennessee. And I had at one time, it would go up and down, but I had 10 or 12 TVA police officers that came to my lodge and were members of the Fraternal Order of Police. So I got a lot of information from them. And currently, a gentleman by the name of, I better not, I don't know if I should, how to do it. Okay. Steve Causey is a fellow author, and he's written an excellent book of the LBL massacre. And he has come across an individual that has 100% can give the evidence that we know that, like, the 1982 massacre actually occurred, and there were 4 individuals that were massacred in the park, that were killed in the park. Some people don't like the word massacre. Some people use killed, but they were killed by unknown animal attack. So yeah, it's kind of hard to get information out of the park and to the authorities there.
Let's see. What else? I'm looking for questions.
Oh, I see one right in front of me from one of the greatest colleagues that I have. I've worked in the park with him. He's been on MonsterQuest not once, but 2 times. Bart Nunley is a book author that has written various books, Mysterious Kentucky, and I know that you're very familiar with him, Doug.
Oh yeah, for sure. I've had
he is
conversations.
working right now. Ron Moorhead, Daryl Denton, and I, with Barton, were in the park and was screaming. He has a technique that is almost like the Aztec death whistle, which I believe the Aztecs used that to actually call the creatures in Bigfoots, as well as in battle. But Barton is able to use his technique, and we got a forced response within the park that has been tape recorded. It was taped by Daryl Denton, and we've sent it to Mr. Barton, has sent it to a biologist, that it comes back that the recording not only is authentic of the creature that screamed, but it does not match any creature, any canine or any beast recording that we have. And we truly believe we have a recording of what we call the Wolfman or Dogman, the beast of the LBL. But, he's come up with some very great, he's working on something right now that I think will change what we know in the Bigfoot world. Mr. Nunley has identified and is working on something right now that he's going to release concerning the portals and the Indian mounds. And I can't give away what he's working on, but I'm privy to it because we've seen it together. These beasts that are out there is a direct correlation to the portals that exist in Land Between the Lakes. And he has one on film.
Are you aware of some of the government whistleblowers that are talking about these portals in the forests?
Not so much now, but
just recently there are some whistleblowers, and they're claiming that these portals are being now guarded, but they're UAP portals, but that things apparently, they're claiming that, things come out of them, creatures come out of these portals.
Yes.
So it's kind of interesting. So there is some cross whistleblowing stuff going on.
The government is releasing some whistleblowers is coming forward. In the fall of 2024, myself and 3 or 4 other individuals was in the park. Barton Nunley was certainly one of them. And he recorded a portal opening up, and he has it on film. I have seen it. And something comes out of the portal, and this is an area, almost said the exact area. It is in an area that we've researched greatly, and it is close to a church area. And this area is what you brought up, Doug, also in the exact area where there have been a lot of tree carnage, where they have just came in and decimated an entire forest and cut it down. Yeah. This portal opens up. It's purple in color, got silver. We see what I can only describe to you, again, with the Indian contact as well, where the mound is. We see what I term, there was creatures that came out of the portal. I could see that they were what I believe was Indian warriors, and we could hear a drum beat. The portal stayed open for 4 to 5 minutes.
Whoa. Back the truck up, Martin.
Yes.
Just wait a second. Mm-hmm. You're hearing a drum beat. The reason I say back the truck up is my son recorded up in the Boundary Waters canoe area, which is, millions of acres of wilderness, where they had big rocks thrown at them, and you'd hear them rolling up to the tent and wood knocks and throwing ricocheting rocks all over, to where my son had to yell, "All right, guys, cool it, settle down." And you can hear this drum beat. It's almost like a native drum beat. So I'm sorry, I had to. So go ahead and tell your story.
No, you blew me away, man. So he has heard the drum beat, and did he describe actually being able to see anybody, or just could hear it?
You can hear it on the recording. It's quite clear. But you can hear it along with all this activity, Bigfoot activity.
Yes.
And it's also where a guy went missing, which is why he camped there, because it's the exact spot this guy camped, and all they found was his wallet, and they've never found a trace of him. So my son went out there. Wow. He had to hike for 2 days to get there, and then camped there, and it was so bad they had to leave because it was so crazy. The activity was so aggressive.
I think I know the missing person case you're speaking of, that I read something about this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was on, if anybody wants to go there, it's, there's Whiskey Jack Lake, and it's the lake a little farther. No, it is on Whiskey Jack Lake. That's the lake in the Boundary Waters where this guy went missing, and they went out there. Okay. But so now tell me about this drum beat thing and everything you know about it.
So we were in 2 different vehicles, and we had pulled off the side of the road because we had noticed that there was an extremely bright light. Now we're in an area where there's nothing but a logging road. And this area is only accessible by extreme 4-wheel drive, which I drive an old 3/4 ton Suburban. So we're in an area where there is nobody. I mean, nobody. And in the area of where all these down trees, you literally have to almost be like Tarzan crawling through the down trees. I mean, they're so impact that you have to walk over all these trees that have fell. We're talking about 200 or 300 acres. And right in the middle of this, the portal opens up. We see these creatures or these whatever we're seeing come out. Then we see like warriors dancing around a fire. All this is contained just outside of this portal. And the portal is such brilliant colors. I mean, you would have to be like making a movie about aliens to see something like this. You know, it would be something comparable to Spielberg. And again, this is in the middle of nowhere. And so Barton immediately, I mean, he is very Johnny on the spot. He's very disciplined is the word I'm seeking. And he immediately cuts his camera on. And excuse me. And we're seeing this, and it lasts 4 to 5 minutes, maybe longer. And the colors, the drum beat, I've never seen anything like this as far as with warriors and the drum beat. One of the elders that I speak to refer to the Nunnahay, the Cherokee people that live forever, the people that can live anywhere and everywhere. And they compared that was the portal opening up. And of course, they also have such a immense oral history of dealing with Bigfoot. And I don't know what we saw. I know it was a portal. I know where it's open.
Can you describe what area? Excuse me. Can you describe what it looked like, Martin?
Very large. From my eyesight, it appeared that the portal was at least 20 feet in circumference.
So round.
The warriors that I saw were images. I could not see them distinctly, but I could tell that they were dancing around this fire. And it was not a huge campfire, but it was a fire. You could tell that that's what it was. The drum beat was faint and distant, and it sounded like it was, even though it was not that far away, it sounded as if, like it was, I laugh, like it was from another dimension even. And it just was one of the most fascinating things. And surprisingly enough, what Mr. Nunley has discovered is the direct correlation to Indian mounds, where the Indian activity was, even down to where the mines are and where they mined the iron ore, because iron is something that usually is like the cornfields. It has something to do with a lot of this type of activity.
Jeff, I know you're not feeling good.
Man, I don't even know what to say. The question I was going to ask, you already talked about. I was wondering what his speculation was on the relationship between Bigfoot and Dogman. I did have one other question though. When you did see Dogman, did you ever see any sign of a tail?
Oh,
yes, and I've actually seen both types. I have seen them with a long tail, and I have seen the ones that I've seen that are large and extremely larger than others will have a long tail. And the smaller ones, and I do not know if I'm looking at an elder or if I'm looking at a younger one, but the smaller dogmen that I have seen, and I have to be politically correct, I've seen some dog women as well, but the smaller ones would have real short tails.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. That was. I'm trying to.
Are there any other details about Dogmen? Like you said, you saw some female. Do they have breasts?
Yes.
They're just
and
two.
They don't have just two breasts. The one that I saw had exactly 4 breasts, and I could see her very vividly that she had 4 breasts, but she was very thin at the waist. It came tapered down and was very thin. And the one thing that stuck out with the female dog man, whatever politically correct you call a dog woman. This one was extremely scruffy. The hair was very dingy, as if it was, I don't know how to say, like the hair was falling out, but it had 4 breasts to it. And I have seen other dog women that were in better shape, that their hair was cleaner looking and darker and was all one solid color.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't even really have anything to add or ask. I'm just completely mesmerized by this discussion. This is incredible.
You would not believe what I have learned and discovered, not only from eyewitness accounts, my own eyewitness accounts, but what I have discovered from our witnesses.
Yeah.
And being a policeman, I have really kept. Now, I do have witnesses that will say, "Hey, man, use my name," and only if a witness says that I can use their name or give their story. Otherwise, I'm very close with keeping their identities. They're respecting their anonymity.
Wow.
But you would not believe some of the things that we have. Look, I talked with the ship's captains, that you have 2 major rivers that surround the peninsula and run up all the way to the Ohio. You have the Cumberland on one side, the mighty Tennessee on the other. And these things are constantly trafficked by the ship's captains that are piloting the barges of sand and coal and rock and other commodities along the rivers. For instance, just very recently, I spoke with a ship's captain that had been doing it for 40 plus years before he had retired. And they had well noted that along we have a place we call the Dogman Island. And it is an area that we've kept very quiet, and we have not given it to many folks. But Dogman Island is a place that they have discovered that when the ship's captains come through, that they will light it up with the big lights that they have, or they honk their horns, their huge air horns, and they will see dogmen or werewolves. One guy described it as a wolf man jumping from the island into the water to get away from the ship boats. And I mean, some of the discoveries are so great, and we share very few of these. I mean, how do you tell people that a ship's captain sees UFOs that will disappear into the water? How do you share that story and then them still retain their license if they report this to the court, to the Coast Guard? But I have contacts like this from law enforcement, ship's captains, Army personnel that's flying over the LBL. Some of the amazing stories. I mean, it's hard to believe them sometimes myself, but I know that I'm talking to witnesses that are sane. I know there are professional men and women, and I know what they're telling me is truthful.
Oh, somebody's saying hi to you, Tommy.
David, how you doing, brother? David's a cool man down the rabbit hole.
Is he down?
Yes, I know David.
He's a cool dude. He's a legend.
Yeah, he very much is. He very much is.
Okay. So you'd mentioned some of the physical traits about Bigfoot. Are there any physical traits of Dogman? I mean, do their eyes glow? Do they not glow? What color do they glow? I've heard they have blue eyes, amber eyes.
Now, if you'll remember, when we talked about the ones that was in my camp, that there were ones beside the tree that had eye glow, as red as a cigar or a cigarette being smoked. Now I know that it was not, of course, a cigarette or a cigar being smoked. Right. That in fact that was the eye glow from these dogmen, and they were dogman creatures there. But we've also seen the dogmen that their eyes is pitch black, like you'd see a shark's eyes. And,
do you think they can make them glow at? Do you think they can make them glow at will, Martin?
I do. In point in fact, in October of 2024. Now, some things I will talk about, and then there's things that are so far out of the spectrum that I'm scared to share.
No,
but I
don't-
had
don't-
another individual
that.
with me, a Mr. Howell that I've known for many years, 30 or 40 years, in my area, and we were in the land between the lakes. Now, this is how it went down. I had been receiving calls. I'm part of some history groups, and one of them is Sons of the Confederate Veterans, and we have an area that is a campground, or a graveyard that we keep clean. And some of these members had told me about a Bigfoot in the area. And it went down like this. I'm in the area actually researching and attempting to see what these other folks are reporting as a Bigfoot. So one night, just before midnight, in the month of October 24, myself and the researcher observed several pigs in the middle of the road that were turned upside down, and their little hooves were straight up in the air, and they acted like, at first I thought they had been run over or had been injured. But closer upon examination, there were two Bigfoot, and their eyes had turned color, and what was happening when they were pointed in the direction of these pigs that seemed to be frozen, the Bigfoot's eyes were solid white, almost like flashlights. Then, when they turned to look at us, their eyes went to a red from the lights of the truck that I was driving. When they concentrated upon us and their eyes color changed, the pigs that were laying on their back flipped over, stood up, ran in circles, and took off running.
Wow. Okay.
So it was almost as if the Bigfoot was in control of the pigs that were laying on their back, and something to do with their eyes going from one color to the next color. There's something to that they can change their eyes at will. I hope that halfway answered your question.
Yeah. It's
I mean, it makes sense to me.
It's crazy.
We have discovered this, and earlier I said something. There's an optometrist that is studying this, and he is thoroughly convinced, just like I am, that the creatures use there's something to do with their eyes, that they can control the ability, and they have these powers of either freezing their prey or making their prey maybe just like lay down in some type of a state of confusion that they can't get away.
But
I
maybe they're
know it
blasting
sounds
them
crazy.
with sound, or God knows.
Yes.
And they have identified protein cells and even human eyes that put out light. So it's not terribly unheard of, because humans are the only animals that can find these cells that actually emit light. Now we're talking they have to put them in a totally dark room and use special equipment, but these cells are actually emitting light. But as humans, we only have like one or two of these cells. But if you can imagine, if we would have the millions and millions of those cells, so it may be something we've even lost. Humans maybe even had glowing eyes at one point.
We have lost so much.
Yeah.
And compare to what, and forgive me for saying this, some folks have lost so much of their cognitive functions, simply like the Oriental or the Japanese people. They speak of Americans that we have almost the attention span of a gnat, because we're constantly with our cell phones in our hands, even when we walk. We have lost so much brain power over the centuries.
Yeah.
There's no telling what ability that we had at one point as a human.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with that.
There was a really good question I wanted to ask you. Dang it. I don't know why the hell it was so good. And then I gone out of my brain. Maybe it'll come back.
That's why I write stuff down.
I do too, but I didn't write that one down because it was so good. And I'm not going to forget that.
I actually have a note and pad that is written right beside of me that I've been writing things down to remember.
I do that.
So
in case we all get off sequence, it's like, okay, I forgot to answer this question, and I forgot that question, and because I am.
Oh, I know what it was. It just came back to me. Have you ever had a case where you go home after one of these expeditions and you've got some kind of weird paranormal activity or something weird happens at home, Martin?
I almost wish that you had not asked that.
Yeah, I bet you did. I'm looking at you right in the eyes right now.
Okay, here it goes. I called my friend Mr. Nunley today.
Oh,
here's what is taking place inside our house right now. In front of me, there are 3 painted drawing images of cowboys on horses. And one of them actually depicts in my mind my Cherokee elder friend that died. He was a heck of a cowboy, and he was a Cherokee elder. So what I called Mr. Barton for was to tell him that we have a picture in our home that is on our wall that keeps turning sideways. I have locked it in with Velcro on the back of the paint. It hangs from a metal nail and a metal wire, and it has never moved in our home in the last 5 years. And we are having great difficulty of where this painting, even with Velcro attached to the wall and to the painting, is turning sideways. We can go to bed at night. We wake up. We're not on a fault line. This is not an earthquake. Only since I've had the sighting in January the 17th, where Mike Smith and I had sightings of not only Bigfoot and the Dogmen that we know that moved from my original site, and they moved down to the Cumberland River. Ever since that sighting, we have been having paranormal activity within our home.
Have you ever had like knocking on your bedroom door or any of your doors inside the house?
I have in years past have knocking outside my door, almost the same type or style that Mr. Daryl Denton had. He had been looking and working with some Bigfoot down along the river, and he had stopped gifting. And for whatever reason, I actually investigated it myself. Some of his animals at his home come up killed, and they were beating and just tearing his house all to pieces on the outside of it. And so I have at one time, but what I did is I blessed my home, and I rebuked whatever it was that was on the grounds of my home. I have done so about my painting that's on the wall, one of my favorite paintings. And I don't know how this is going to go tonight, but yeah. When you asked that question, man, I lit up. My wife is in the room with me, and she's just pointing at the painting right now.
Yeah.
She's just pointing. And so, yeah, you guys heard it first. Now, I called Barton to tell him about it, and he said, hum. That's all he said. He didn't know what to say to me. But, yeah, we've had some paranormal activity within our home. And yeah, I think it probably followed me home from the last sighting.
I've had some stuff like that too, but I never connected it.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden I started thinking, oh, yeah, maybe, because we've had just crazy stuff once in a great while. Doesn't happen very often, but every once in a great while you'll have something that'll just jar the hell out of you.
Mm-hmm.
This one really...
That seems weird.
It gave me a smile, but it is really starting to annoy, and as well as a little bit frightened as to who, what, when, where, and how.
What is the painting of?
The painting is of a cowboy, and he's at a corral, and I'm looking at it right now, and it has the gate entrance that leads into it, and this has so much resemblance to my friend that passed away It's just a cowboy sitting in the saddle on his horse, well, working some cows in front of it.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, it started a few days ago. And it was right after a colleague, Mike Smith, and I had been in the woods, and we'd had a pretty wild night in the woods. And he's made some drawings and has done some sketches of what we saw. But we actually saw a Dogman, which leads to one of my other investigations or secrets or techniques. We know that the Dogman, and if we listen to our elders, they teach us that these things sleep within the inside of trees, that they can actually come from in and outside of the tree, what if it's a portal. So Mike and I had seen the mist come out of the tree, and then it went from being a mist, it went directly straight into the image and into the body as a Dogman, as a wolf man.
Wow. It's crazy. Crazy stuff. Jeff, Tommy, my voice is.
I don't know. I don't even know what to add. It's incredible.
I've got a question. It might be a tough one.
Yes.
Dogmen and Sasquatch, they seem to be interdimensional. Do you think they're from the same place? I know that might be difficult, but do you think they're coming in and out of the same portals, possibly?
I am so intrigued. This is a question I've asked myself many times, Tommy, because you go back to the Anubis that's on the Egyptian walls of the half wolf, half man, and we go back to the ship captains of the 1400s that on the maps that they drew, that you had islands and you had different locations or countries where we had half men, half wolf, half man, half bird or eagle, all these things that we're seeing. So you have the Bigfoot, and then you have the werewolf or Dogman. And have they always interacted with each other? Where do they come from? It does go back for me. It goes back, and I feel like the Ethiopian Bible is a more what I call a virgin text of everything that we know that was written down. And in a King James version, there's been so much that has been taken out. But I think one of the answers that we could say about that is that the fallen angels, and I always do everything PG. I never give an interview or even get into a movie documentary where it's not to where even children can watch it. But however, the only way to say this is that the angels had sex with the different animals to destroy God's perfect work. And so we know that they had sex with animals, fish, the eagles, everything that changed the DNA sequence. So is that where the Bigfoot actually came from? Is it from the sons of the fallen angels or the Nephilim? Is that a good explanation for why we have ships captains in the 1400s drawing islands or countries, even in America, when others landed here, going back to our Vikings, where they landed in America, and they spoke in their journals that the Vikings had contact with some type of creatures that destroyed them on the American shore. So, man, it is, with an open mind, you can virtually take a look at all these questions like this and give some possible answers. I think one day we will know the truth, whether if it's after we pass and we move on, like Mr. Moorhead says, we move to a higher plane, or we enter the kingdom, the gates of heaven, being that we've been good guys now. But
I think we're going to find out that a lot of fairy tales aren't fairy tales. I think a lot of them are based on real things that happen, real monsters.
Mm-hmm.
I really do.
I believe so too. That's why I always try to emphasize that the oral history of whatever Native Indians was in the land is not lore. It will have a factual basis, no matter if it's the Curing tribe of Alaska or the Oma, or if it's the wild man of the bush of Australia, the Yahweh, or whatever that it might be. There is facts in all of this oral history.
Have you guys seen UFOs out on your expeditions, Martin?
Yes, and
Like
they
orbs?
seem to be a direct correlation to sightings of either Bigfoot or Dogmen. And what it means, I do not know, but we have many times we've seen orbs as recently as in November. We had orbs come in to one of our camps, but we were in the park. I spent 3.5 weeks from January, parts of January, and then back in February. But I spent a direct 3.5 weeks from February until present date. I only got home Monday or Tuesday, and actually home Tuesday. We saw orbs, and we will also see colored type of craft in the air a lot of times over the area of the peninsula that does not appear to be. Now, we don't know what our government has now. However, we're seeing some type of crafts. And it always, when we see some type of craft over the LBL, there will be witness sightings, whether if it's us or other people.
Have you, okay, when you say craft, are you talking about something that looks like nut and bolt type craft? Or are you seeing orbs, these round plasma like balls? Or have you seen both?
Round plasma like bulbs, but some of them are so big that when they're in the sky, and when they come from the sky, they shrink in size. In other words, when they're up in much bigger, but yet when they come down to the ground, for instance, in November, I observed 2 orbs come in, and they shrunk down and go from 2 orbs to 1 orb, and then the light is more intense. And I observe it go over the bay. I observe it come up. It goes vertical as well as flying horizontal. It comes into the woods. It actually navigates the trees and the tree limbs. It doesn't set anything on fire, and it lands softly. And within moments, we began to get tree knocks and whistles. Now, we did not have any eye contact that night with any creature, but immediately when the 2 orbs go to 1, the 1 orb comes in and lands. It flies vertically as well as horizontally. And I say this because some people think that it was some type of a military flare, but they don't fly vertical and horizontal and have the ability to rise up and go down. At least I don't think so.
Colors of these orbs, Martin? Colors? What colors do you see?
I've seen everything from the white orbs to purple. And
you've seen the purple ones, huh?
Yes.
I have too.
Very purple. Now, my wife will explain to you that I'll give you a little secret. I have a little bit of trouble with color blindness, but I can tell purple and I can tell reds. Now, some reds and greens are hard for me.
Yeah.
But purple is a color that I can definitely identify with.
It's kind of a pinkish purple. It's like pinkish purple, bright pinkish purple.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's crazy. Martin, by the way, anytime you want to tap out.
I'm good. I'm good.
I'll drive you into the ground.
I got you. Yeah.
I'll drive you into the ground.
That'd be fine. That'd be fine.
Oh, okay.
Since I'm not in LBL, I'm happy to talk with you guys because I get pretty stir crazy at the house if I'm not in the woods.
Oh, okay. Now, Tommy, you've had some strange paranormal encounters. Why don't you give Martin a 5-second rest?
I'd love to hear.
Yeah, tell us about your
I grew up
stuff.
in a haunted house. That's probably why I do the podcast that I do, because I've seen a lot of things that, that confirm to me that there's more going on around us that we can't always see. I've seen a lot of weird stuff. But I grew up in a haunted house where that was very, your classic haunted house. Things would go missing. You would hear someone walking around at night when no one was there. And I was a very scared kid. Like, I know a lot of kids are. But I'd wake up during the night and I would get in bed with my mum and dad, because it was just, I'd wake up and there was no way I was staying in my room, because there was just this feeling of something there. I know a lot of kids get that, but one night I woke up and me and my brother, we had bunk beds, and I was on the top bunk, and I woke up, all the lights were off in our room, but you could see the street lights coming in, and there was a man sitting there at our desk. Me and my brother, we had a desk in the corner of the room, and there was this dude just sitting there, just with his head in his fists, just kind of looking up in my direction. And he was as solid as we are tonight. He was just a man was in my room. And I wasn't thinking ghost, or entity, anything like that. I just screamed, Mom, there's a man in my room. And I was just crying. I was terrified. And this dude, he looked like William Shakespeare. That was the kind of look that this guy had. That was kind of the era he was from, I would guess. He had long hair. He had a little brown suit on and big leather boots. I could see him very clearly. Yeah. And he wasn't moving. He didn't move. He didn't blink, but he was there, solid. And my mum came running in. And I'm going, Mum, there's a man in my room. And I was terrified. And my mum, she was kind of getting the hump, because, as I said, I was getting in her bed every night, and she'd had enough of it. So she was like, there's no one in you. She couldn't see this guy. I could still see him. But she's going, there's no one in your room. Like, you're staying in your room. She got quite angry with me. And I remember she went over to the corner of the room where the guy was. I don't know if she's gone through him or anything like that. But she's come back to me and she's like, there's nothing here. You're staying in your room. She got very angry and made me stay in the room. My mum she'll see this and she'll apologise, because every time I do a show, she always apologises to this day. But I just remember going under my covers and just sweating. I was terrified, crying. I was sweating. I was 10 years old, but I was terrified. And I kept looking, and this guy he was there. He was there. And just the whole night I was under the covers, sweating. He was still there. And this lasted for what seemed like an eternity. It was all night. The guy didn't move, but he was solid. He was definitely there. And somehow I fell asleep that night. I woke up the next morning and he was gone. But that was like the moment where, I knew that there was a lot more to this world. Because
did you fall asleep, or were you knocked out by this thing?
I think I just somehow fell asleep.
That's not possible.
I was a blubbering mess. That's
not possible, though. I've had things like that too. Horror nights, like, how did I fall asleep? I didn't.
I know. Yeah, I know. I mean, maybe something's happened.
You got zapped.
It zapped me, but it lasted for a long time. It wasn't like this went on it felt like an eternity. I was all night. It felt like somehow I fell asleep, but I woke up. The lights, it was obviously in my room. The light was daytime, and this dude was gone. And I never actually saw that particular entity, ghost, again. But other weird stuff happened in the house. I did see other things. On a separate occasion, my brother woke up and he saw two red eyes in the same area that I saw this dude. And his experience was these two red eyes just started floating towards him. And he was terrified as well. And they just gradually disappeared. I was in my mum and dad's bedroom one day. And this was after I saw the dude. This was during the day. I wasn't thinking ghost or anything at this time. And I was just dancing, playing around in my mum and dad's bedroom. And they had like these mirrors on their wall. And all of a sudden I saw a naked blonde lady walk past me. And I've looked at her and I've followed her into my mum and dad's bathroom. Now, my mum was blonde and she would sometimes walk around the house naked. So I just thought it was my mum. Started talking to her, Mum, da-da-da-da-da. Walked into the bathroom. There was no one there. But I saw a solid form, a solid lady walk past me into the bathroom. I've run downstairs.
Could that have been a glitch? Like a glitch in the timeline?
I mean, it could have been. I just remember going into the bathroom and just being so confused. Just going, I'm talking to my mum out loud and she's not there. And I went downstairs. She was fully clothed. I said, Mum, was you in the bathroom? She said, no, I wasn't. Obviously not. So it's things like that were like undeniable for me as a kid.
Yeah. Have you ever experienced a time glitch, Martin? Where
yes.
Just something like, what? I just saw that way over there and now it's here. And
oh yes. And we find that a lot in the area of the peninsula. and I've experienced things in the Smoky Mountains in certain locations. I have a colleague that was on the phone with me today. He called me and was very distraught, very upset. I know that he won't
Just
mind me
today.
telling the story. Today.
Okay.
My phone rings off the hook, whether if it's witnesses. On my business cards, I give my home phone number to people because I want to know if they have, a report or something to put in my files. Mike Smith is a man that I trust with all my heart. He's a very truthful man, and he's had a lot of activity and paranormal in the land between the lakes. He calls today and he tells me the story that he was recently fishing as of this weekend in the area that is a very noted paranormal and area where Bigfoot is seen a lot. Mike is fishing and he looks up and he sees a guy that he referred to that had to come from another era, another time. He's dressed in period clothing of the 17 or 1800s. And the man is carrying a rifle that would be considered a long rifle, such as a flintlock or something of that era. He's with his dog, and the old dog looks scruffy looking and is just some type of a hunting dog that Mike thought from another time. He couldn't make out, he just couldn't conceive what he was looking at. So he thought he'd better walk over there and at least talk to this individual and explain that there is no hunting. This is a no hunting zone around this fishing lake. And that, matter of fact, all hunting has closed down right now for any type of firearm. Squirrel hunting, deer hunting's been closed. Squirrel hunting just recently closed. So he approached the area of where he was at, and as he got closer, he saw it was gone. But Mike described to me that it was something out of another dimension, another time, and just like what he explained to me, what Tommy's explaining, that it had to have been from 1800s era. But keep in mind that area where we're at on the peninsula has a long history of the long hunters and the Indians in the area. And but yeah, and I've experienced some things with dimension and with time glitches. I'll tell you something that has never been spoke of on any podcast, but I recently spoke with Daryl Denton, and he agreed, and he thought that under certain circumstances we should tell the story, but it's never been told. It's never been shared, and it's actually, I have not put it in any of my books. But what differs now is that I no longer have the feeling that I'm going to have to speak in a parole hearing or go back to a federal court system to testify against someone. During our sighting, where we saw the translucent Dogman that had lion's fur or like a lion's mane on its back, that was in the area of what we call the Devil's Backbone. It was a culvert on the side of the road that this thing came up. That night when we had this sighting, and I'll give you the shorter version, but we saw this huge monstrous creature, translucent, that glided across the road, went up a hill, and was tearing the trees to pieces, yet it was never touching the ground. What? But here's what we've never told. The area that we were at, and I was driving the truck, to get from one end of this road to the other at a slow speed, because it's a terrible road, terrible back road area, should only take us 15 minutes. 15 if you're scared to death. 30 minutes if you don't want to destroy your vehicle you're driving. We have a time loss of over 3.5 hours that we cannot explain.
You and Daryl did.
Together.
Jeez.
Together. He was in my passenger seat. I was driving. By the time we get from one area to the next, at first Daryl did not even catch it on his watch. I don't wear a watch. I look at a clock radio or whatever's in the vehicle. But we went 3.5 hours, maybe further, that we don't know where we were at, where we were driving.
Whoa.
Wow.
A total time displacement. Where were we? What was being done? Now, that night that we saw the translucent Dogman, we also saw what I believe to be is some form of a UFO that was over the Devil's Backbone.
Yeah, that's really unnerving when you have that with somebody else, because you can't. There's no way you can question your own sanity at that point.
Mm-hmm.
No.
And
how
Daryl
do you
is
explain?
as solid of a guy.
How do you tell someone that?
Yeah, Daryl is such a solid guy.
Yes.
One of
Well,
the
we've been
nicest
friends
people
for
you'll
4
ever meet in the
decades.
entire world. Daryl,
Yeah.
he is.
Very
It's
nice,
kind of
very
hard
good
to
guy.
explain how nice Daryl is.
Yeah, he really is.
Yes. We go back 4 decades. That tells us how old that we both are.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely a wonderful man. Okay.
That's never been discussed, Doug.
So how
That
did
is
you
never-
guys?
I've never
Well,
talked
I
about that.
appreciate you sharing that, but how did you guys deal with
Yes.
that? How do you deal with it?
To this day, we have no answer. We've discussed it. We went back and forth many times about why and where we ended up in the park. The fact that there was such a time loss. Where did those 3.5 hours go to? What were we doing, or what was being done to us? Now, Daryl will not discuss some things on the air, but there's been some things that Daryl has actually went to the doctor, and they have found some things underneath his skin that cannot be explained. We don't know when that happened to him or what.
Lee asked, because we've taken surveys like this before with guests and people. Are you negative O blood by any chance? You don't have to answer that, Martin.
Why do you say that? Because I am.
Wow.
What's the deal with that now?
Well, because it seems to be a very common trait
Yeah.
with people who are experiencers and different things.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Really common trait.
That you're freaking me out, Doug.
Yeah.
It freaked us out. We found this out.
Yeah, one time we did a survey, and every single person in chat was like, "Oh, negative, oh, negative, oh, negative,
Like,
oh, negative,
oh man, so many experiencers.
It's on one of the name tags. It's on one of the things my mother used to make me wear, and the allergy to allergic to penicillin.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, O negative blood.
Well, that's another thing too, by the way, that a lot of O negative people have is allergy to penicillin, or people who are being abducted. Is a lot of people who are having abduction problems, creature, ghost, whatever, are allergic to penicillin.
You know,
guess what I am?
refer back-
Guess what I am? I'm allergic to penicillin too.
Are you allergic to penicillin?
Hell
Wow.
yes. Yep. It's
Oh my goodness, man.
It's the only thing I'm allergic to, and it's killer. Like it's not a good-
My throat shut down when I was like 9 or
Yeah.
10, and they had to go in and do the thing in the neck and just all kinds of stuff. And I'd received a penicillin shot, and immediately had a reaction.
So I'm supposed to call Roger tonight. I'm going to wait till 2:30 a.m. and then call Roger and tell him that you're O negative.
Oh, cool, cool.
I'll wake him
Now
up.
I'm going to be doing some research on that. That's one that I did not know, but
Yeah,
it's really going to be freaky if I was to discover that my colleague, Mr. Denton, is also.
All right. So
O
people
negative.
hang on now. People are chiming in now about their allergies to penicillin. Here's one.
Wow.
Octopus with no friends. Here's another
This
one.
is crazy.
Here's Steve. I'm allergic to penicillin. So there you go.
Interesting.
This now, see, I refer back to Mr. Moorhead. Mr. Moorhead will tell you quickly about the open mind, but the other thing he shared with me as a great mentor is this: you learn something, and when you do not learn something every day as an old person, you've lived too long. I've learned something. You have taught me something tonight. I try to learn something every day.
Well, that's good. Here's Steve Wolf said he actually died from being administered penicillin.
Whoa.
So there
Wow,
you go.
man. My severe degenerative inhuman.
Yeah,
Whoa,
it's just,
rheumatoid. Wow,
these are
man.
things nobody talks about. Some of these.
Yeah, the old negative thing is wild. I mean, we had a
Coincidence? I
high
don't
number
know.
of people. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's kind of nuts. So, do you think that your early encounter really changed your life? And then the second part to the question: were your parents pretty open-minded people, or what were your parents like?
So, mom and dad were very religious. They were very closed-minded to anything of this nature. However, my father had seen something when he was working for the conservation camps of back in the 1930s when they were building roads and had been on the pipeline. And he had seen what he could not describe, and he never could accept what he saw. He went to his grave not knowing what he saw, but he had saw some type of a Bigfoot creature. What he described to me, I know now in my heart, post his death. I really believe that when he was working for the conservation corps camps, that he saw a Bigfoot. Now, in respect to the question, I know it has changed me, and we can talk or just leave it in the thoughts in your mind. I've been marked, and I know that I have, and I understand that many researchers have been marked by the Bigfoot. And let me refer you back to, I know now that the first night I was in my camp, and when I've done a study of this of many hunters. I know one right now that had an animal come into his camp at 3 a.m. But that raccoon that came into my camp and was standing over me and touching my face and head with its hands, with its paws, I know now that was not what I deemed, what I thought was a raccoon, was not a raccoon. And I think from that moment on that it changed me, and I've had a different outlook and perspective.
Oh, okay. So your memory
everything.
is like a raccoon.
Yes.
But it was a Dogman, maybe a
It
small.
was either a Dogman or a Bigfoot, one of the two creatures. My Cherokee elder and friends that I've spoken with over the years, I've made a lot of friends in the Smoky Mountains, and they really believe that was a Bigfoot creature that had altered his appearance and was actually some type of mind probe or speak or something. And I know that's crazy to speak about, but I am firmly convinced that raccoon was doing something to me along those lines.
Yeah, because I thought that story was a little odd when you told it. I mean, it sounds plausible that a raccoon, if you're laying there still, it would be curious, but
yes.
And what makes you convinced it wasn't a raccoon again?
I really believe because of what I was taught by my elders, that was a Bigfoot creature, and they give other instances and other stories that other humans have.
So the memory is just kind of like a fuzzball for you.
Yes.
The raccoon's like a screen memory almost.
And a point in fact, I have one good friend who is a retired chief of police that he had a similar instance in the area only 5 miles from my camp. And this one was a squirrel dark 3 a.m. in the morning. It came into his tent and touched him and remained in his tent. And he had loss of time and time dimension. And he doesn't know how long that the squirrel, nor how long he slept with the squirrel with him.
Yeah, it sounds like a screen
but
memory.
He lost
almost.
time on his clock. And it was quite evident to him something had occurred with him.
So, Tommy, about the naked woman, I want you to think about that. Was your mom? I guarantee it. But it was a time.
I see. Yeah. I mean, some people have said to me possibly it was a doppelganger.
No, time glitch. No, I've experienced so many of those. We were playing ping pong one time. I was down with my daughter, and we're downstairs playing ping pong and having fun. And we hear Yvette get home. And we hear the doors open, the cupboards opening. We hear the silverware, the pot going on the stove, and all this. And we decide, well, we better say hi, right? We better go upstairs, say hi, or at least yell up the stairs. So I go, it's like I yell, Yvette, we're down here playing ping pong. Silence. We yell again, silence.
Silence.
And my daughter just whoosh, just started to cry because she knew exactly what was going on. That Yvette wasn't home, but we heard her.
Interesting.
Because we had just experienced another time glitch together while we went to, I'll tell the story really quick. We went to a family reunion and we were checking into the hotel and we put our luggage in our room. We went to leave and we went to the elevator and there's a big family coming out of the elevator, very distinct. They all had, like the man had a really bright red shirt on with a big afro. And I mean, the mom was real short. Everything was so distinct about these people. And we get in we let them get out. We get in the elevator. We go down. We walk out the front door, and here they come from about a half a block away, walking towards us. And my daughter goes, "Glitch!" And how do you, that's a time glitch.
Man.
It's just something.
Did you think it's like a trapped energy, or what do you think?
I don't know what causes them. I don't have any idea. Maybe some of us just I've experienced at least 100 of those kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
Very clear, many times with witnesses. And we've all experienced the lost wallets, the thing. I swear I put it there. But generally, time glitches are when a lot of people think they're ghosts, or they'll hear stuff, and it's probably just a family member or even yourself. You can even scare yourself with a time glitch.
Sure, you can.
If that makes any sense.
It does.
Well, you think
and sometimes you might not even realize
you.
It. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if I'd not gone and if I just sort of accepted that was my mum, gone out the room, I would never be talking about
never
that.
know.
It never would have been a weird thing, Yeah.
But if your mom had blonde hair and walked around naked once in a while, that was probably your mom. I mean, come on. Nobody's that lucky to have a naked blonde ghost walking through their room. Come on.
I just thought it was my mom.
Nobody's that lucky.
It was strange.
I will say that is, I've never heard that type exact story, and it is intriguing. But I've heard other stories where people will see this or see that. But the naked woman going through to the bathroom, that is, I mean, it strikes home. It strikes home, man.
Yeah.
It's such a fascinating sphere that we as humans will experience while we're here for this short walk, this short dance on this earth.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here's the thing, Martin and Jeff and Tommy. How many people are there out there that have had just tons of weird experiences that haven't said a damn thing to anybody?
Oh, loads.
If we could all just communicate and share our encounters, this stuff would become mainstream and not so weird.
Absolutely. How often do you say to someone about this kind of stuff and they go, "No, I've never experienced anything. No, I think it's a lot of rubbish."
Yeah.
And then in the next breath, they tell you, "There was this one time," and then they tell you
one time.
It's always this one time, and they tell you this incredible story.
Well, I do remember this one time I woke up in the basement after I went to the grocery store. And I don't remember anything, whatever.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I hear this stuff.
You hear that all the time, yeah.
But
hey, Tommy just brought something up that is noteworthy of speaking. And when we speak of witnesses and we speak of how people, how do we get the people to tell their stories? One of the things that I've run across time after time again is the skepticism and the people who will attack witnesses that come forth and tell their story. We've got to learn that just because, and this is something that's taken place in my neck of the woods, right? There are hunters that will say they've been hunting in the woods for 40 years. And they've never seen a bear. They've never seen a Bigfoot.
Right.
Well, they've had to eat their words just recently because they've admitted now that we do have black bears in our park, and they're a avid breeding population of these. Well, could it also be that they missed the bear? They may have missed the Bigfoot, but when one of these witnesses come forward, every time that another hunter makes fun of that hunter, or someone makes fun about, hey, this is the guy that sees bear or Bigfoot, that causes another 20 witnesses to clam up and hide in their home, even though they're pillars of the community, they're the church person, they're the policeman that serves the community, but they're scared to come forth because of the skepticism.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And it just, I love pushing people, like friends I've known. It's like, well, what have you had? What have you had? Or I've even known people that don't criticize me about my Bigfoot work. And I'll go, that's because you had a sighting. I know you did. And they'll be like, no. I'm like, I know you did. Otherwise, why would you be so interested in what I'm doing? And then be like 3 years later, they'll go, okay, I'll tell my story. It's like, they're not that uncommon. They're just, it's uncommon to tell about it. That's the uncommon part. That's the problem.
Everyone's afraid to. I hid for I hid for almost 27 years before I came out, because I knew what I'd be facing, and I knew the skepticism, and even down to death threats. I've experienced death threats because I've come forward. And how do you get people, your normal average Joe walking down the street that's a carpenter or works down at the gas station, how do you, hey, come out and tell me your story? People are frightened to talk about the phenomenons that they see on this earth.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. We just don't talk about it. Okay, we got to wrap this up.
Can I say something to you, Doug?
Please.
This has been a huge honor to be with all three of you. And my wife is from Minnesota.
Oh,
and
really?
She's such an avid fan of you as well. I'm just so thankful to be here with you.
Thanks for coming on.
My very first one.
Give your wife a hug from all of us up here in Minnesota, and she's going to be real glad she ain't here today.
Yes.
Because we got 20 inches of snow to deal with.
We got hammered.
I think it's still snowing, isn't it, Jeff?
I don't know. Still traumatized by the sound of the ice when you would walk in the ice and snow up there. She's still traumatized when she hears ice break.
Oh, it's kind of nuts. All right, just stay tight, everybody. We're going to do our little wisdom of the week, and we'll be right back for the wrap.
Hang tight. We'll be right back.
It's now time for Untold Radio AM Wisdom of the Week. Just because something sounds unbelievable doesn't mean someone didn't see it and experience it exactly as told. The world is full of moments that don't fit neatly into the boxes we build for them to make us feel safe. History has shown us again and again that today's mystery can become tomorrow's discovery. Good night. We hope to see you all next week. If you like the show tonight, please consider giving us a thumbs up, leaving a nice comment, and most of all, subscribing and hitting the bell so you will be notified when a new episode is dropping. Also, please share this episode. And now, back to Doug and Jeff for our wrap.
Okay, I cannot thank you enough, Martin. I cannot thank you enough, Tommy. We got to do part 2.
Absolutely.
Yes.
We got to do part. Oh, by the way, I'm putting together a show on MindSpeak. I'm going to ask Les Stroud on. I've got a whole bunch of people I'm going to invite. Can I invite you too, Martin?
Yes, please do.
Yeah, that'd be an interesting show because I keep hearing about it. I have experienced MindSpeak twice, but not from a Bigfoot. And it's weird. Yep. It's really weird, and it's not something you can forget.
Les has had some contact like this.
Yeah, yes. And so I'd invite all you guys, and we'll do a episode. I've got some people clamoring to do it. Might be like 10 people that come on, and we'll just share some stories and discuss it as kind of a panel. Anyhow, thank you so much, everybody in chat. You guys and all of the donations and super chat were amazing. We really, really do appreciate it so much. And I didn't hardly have a moment to thank y'all. So we do appreciate it. But so this was what, a 3.5 hour tour.
3.5 hours. This might be a record. Getting close.
I've lost time dimension again. I thought we were here like an hour.
Yeah, it feels like it to me too. But anyhow, so the wisdom fit, didn't it, tonight?
Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
So, okay. So this has been Untold Radio AM, where we explore the unexplained and the people that lived it. And so much tonight, it was just like overwhelming, all the cool stuff that we learned. And we will be back next Sunday, 7:00. And hopefully I'll get my voice back. Thanks again, Tommy. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Martin.
Thanks, Tommy.
Thank you,
everybody.
And thanks everybody in chat.
Everybody.
All right. Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. And
Call you up in the middle of the night. Been bothered by dreams, ain't feeling alright. You give me comfort, say just give it some time. By the end of our talk, I'm feeling just fine.